Welcome to the next stop on your journey from paycheck to pension. If you're ready to take your finances to the next level, you're in the right place. It's time to take control of your future, starting now, and we're doing it live. Hi, we're the Stidhams, and our goal is to help you get self-directed. It's the tax-free income that will shape your legacy. It's wealth, time, and the freedom you deserve. What you're about to learn will enable you to make confident and strategic moves. It means gaining complete control to invest in what you want when you want. We've helped thousands of people just like you. And if they can do it, you can too. So we hope you're ready, because it's about time that your money started working for you. And we're so excited that you chose us to show you how.
Starting right now.
Welcome back. Oh, I just realized my chair is up. Hey guys, it's us again, by the way, and get in here because we have a different one. Sometimes we do these just Q&A. We're just going to answer your questions. You don't have to wait. We're going to answer them right now. Matter of fact, you can ask us anything. Tonight we're just getting comfortable. I don't know about you guys, but I had way too much sugar. I forgot how sugar makes me feel, and now I just needed a break from thinking about things because now I got brain fog. Let's see who we got. Let's pull some people up. Who do we got with us tonight? Nathan.
Welcome.
Mod Squad. Hey, Christy. Judith. We got Frankie. Frankie behind the scenes. Frankie on the beat. Judith, welcome. Yeah, Frankie makes everybody laugh back here. So good. Oh, see, I'm not the only one that had too much sugar. And I forget, like every year I forget, this is how sugar makes you feel. Don't do it. And it's like a snowball effect from here through the holidays on sugar. I'm not going to do that this year. This year's going to be different.
However, we still have a bowl of Kit Kats and Reese's. And so am I throwing them away or not?
No, we're going to donate them. The girl next door, she puts together little bags and passes them out to, I think she does bags for the homeless. So she's going to add that in there.
Shadowlick or Shadowlick? Shadelick? Shadlick?
Maybe it's Sade Lick. Hey, Matthew. Yeah, what's up, everyone? Okay, so we've got some questions that we haven't been answering or we have not answered yet, whether they've been through our text message, through the Facebook group, and we can get started with those while you guys get your questions in. But tell us where you're tuning in from, because this is another thing that we've been wanting to do. We've been wanting to make sure that the time works for everyone. And what we've noticed is we've got a significant amount of replay only viewers because they can't make our live streams. And so we want to know, where do you tune in from? And then tell us if this is too late. Like, what would be an optimal time for you in your time zone? And then maybe we'll just do a poll in the community tab and see if we can change the date. We've also been talking about adding a day too.
Yeah. Well, and the timing for this topic is important as well, because this weekend in most places of the country, they change times this weekend. So, which means our normal spot will look different for everyone else. So I think this is a good time to kind of bring that topic up.
Yeah, definitely. Christy, that's mine. That was my weakness. Yeah, last night. That was it right there. They break me down, man. They got me. They got me good this year.
See, I intentionally left out the Skittles and the other factors that normally reel you in. And
yeah, but that's what we're going to do a good job tonight. So we are here to serve tonight. We're here for your questions. So put them in the chat anytime. We don't even have to wait tonight. We can just jump right in. So what questions do you want to start with?
Yeah, I've got a list. I was writing them down as the intro was going. So again, I apologize for my handwriting, but I was writing a few down, and we can just jump into those. And these are questions that I just grabbed straight from my inbox that were just waiting for me to answer. And I'll probably still end up answering them tonight. But I just wanted to kind of highlight them as we go through. And then if there's any in addition to that, then we can jump into it. It's not a problem.
I like this right here. El Fletcher says he threw some boats in there. You're absolutely right because sugar does not help my boat go faster. It's got to go.
That is true.
Thanks. 9:12. Yep, it would be.
Whereas on Sunday, it would be, if we kept our same time, it would be 8:12. So it would be actually earlier. So
Oh, well, that's true. But we would be then 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
that is correct.
Yeah, because Arizona doesn't change time. It's weird, right? And it's silly. Yeah. Perfect time for me. Kids are tucked in so I can pay close attention to what is going on.
And I think that's the balance, right? It's going to positively affect some and negatively affect others. And we will try to accommodate all, but we won't,
Yeah, maybe we do
can't.
different times on different days so that everyone can. So maybe chime in. What do you think about that, guys? Okay, so ask us anything. Yep, we're here. We do have a question, but do you want to just go ahead and do this one?
Sure. Do some of the velocity banking methods eventually stop working? So what that screams to me is, do we really understand the velocity banking methods? Because in truth, velocity banking is really more an action of addressing a debt tool to be able to use that debt tool to not just pay it down, but also address the debts. But the main focus for velocity banking is around the debt tool. So does velocity is there a situation where velocity banking methods eventually stop working? I'm going to have to say no if we're using velocity banking properly. I've ran into several people who have multiple debt tools. Well, if you have multiple debt tools doing velocity banking, you're probably not doing velocity banking properly. Not saying that you can't use multiple debt tools, but you're probably not efficiently using, getting multiple uses out of a dollar or addressing the balance on the debt tool timely so that you can move it down fast enough to be able to address other things. So I think the short answer to that question is if you're doing velocity banking properly, then no. Now, let's say you've got some HELOC that you've been using. And again, if you're using it properly, the balance should be jumping down. The bank shouldn't be feeling threatened that you're using this HELOC to do velocity, or whatever you're using it for. The bank shouldn't be threatened and therefore potentially closing or calling that HELOC due. But can a bank call a HELOC due? They can. But 9 times out of 10, that's because they are feeling some type of way of how it's being used, or the world is in a different place. We are running through a 2008 crisis, and the banks have to get a certain dollar amount off their books. And the first things to go are the things that are in second position. So there are many, many factors here as it relates to this question, but hopefully that helps.
You know, something that's interesting because there's a lot of conversations around the average household debt being like astronomically high at an all-time high. And we're about to head into not just a recession, but we're about to head into the holidays. And I think this is an important conversation to have because we talk about the boat a lot. We talk about, does it make the boat go faster? I thought, it would be worth having a conversation around how we view the holidays and how we view it in terms of how it fits inside of our structure, of our plan, how even holidays, birthdays, how all of those things impact our goal and just where we are, like being honest and being okay with that. Because a lot of the times we spend out of guilt. We're not spending because that's what we want to spend. We're spending because we go, okay, well, that's just what we spent. There's no actual goal in there. And so, I would like to move into those discussions too. I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable or upset anybody, but I think it's a conversation worth having. So, I don't know if we can get into that tonight, but I'm down for it. Okay, go
Let's
ahead,
make
Donnell.
let's make people uncomfortable. I mean, why not? That's what
Yeah,
we do.
we do. Yeah.
That's what we do. So here, I just ran across this. I told you I don't normally get a chance to see the questions, but I ran across this one, so I'll address this one too. Is it a good idea to pay off a 401k loan with the HELOC? And when I think about 401k loans, 9 times out of 10, those payback dollar amounts are coming directly from your check. So you don't even have a chance to decide what you're going to pay. The company that you work for has already decided what that interest rate will be, how often you're going to pay it back, and they're going to pull it directly out of your check, which means that impacts your cash flow in the short term. So is it a good idea to pay off a 401k with a HELOC? Depends on your goal. And I'm starting tonight off with that question because 9 times out of 10, that's probably the short answer to a lot of these questions. Depends on what your objectives are. Can you use a HELOC to pay off a 401k loan? You absolutely can. Should you? Do you need to? Is there a better use of that dollar amount to be able to do some other things? I don't know without looking at the full situation. But the short of it is, yeah, you can. Absolutely.
Okay. Is
Jump
it
to the vibe board.
is it Shadowlick? Shadowlick. Do we want to vote on how to say this? Because I just want to get it right. There's a follow.
And I'm 12 years old in my head, so I'm saying all sorts of things.
Yeah, we're gonna keep this PG
I'm
tonight.
just saying. I'm being honest.
Okay, the follow-up here is because it seems that the devices being used might not be how they were intended to be used.
So I'm different. I really do believe I'm different as it relates to this. I don't teach velocity banking. I don't coach velocity banking. You cannot hire me to do velocity banking. So when I run into people who have been through coaching, there seems to be a conflict at times as it relates. So I agree with you. For instance, if you tell me you want to do velocity banking and I ask you what your debt tool is and you tell me your debt tool is a credit card, the first thing I'm going to ask you is what is the interest rate on that credit card? If you tell me that interest rate is 28%, I'm going to ask you what debt are you hoping to pay off with that 28% credit card? And you tell me it's a car loan that the interest rate on that car loan is 4.75. I'm going to pause and I'm going to say, just so I'm clear, right? You're using a 28% dollar to pay off a 4.7% dollar. And it's, should we? I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying it's not possible, but should we?
But where are they getting this idea from? I really think let's just take a moment for this because I see this stuff all the time, whether it's in Facebook groups or just online or in the questions people ask. And the ideas about velocity banking, what's concerning to me is that there are some people out here who really are trying to get it, but they just do not get it. And that's where I think a lot of the other people are going, velocity banking is a scam. It doesn't work because if you don't understand it, you actually can harm yourself more than help
It can
yourself.
get worse. Absolutely.
Right. And that's the part for me is I have had some of these same conversations with people when I'm helping them and they're going, but the rule is to use one debt tool. And they're almost trying to reprogram like what actually makes sense.
Makes sense in it.
because
Right.
They're
Right.
trying to apply a
Right.
rule and they're trying to do it right. That's really right, guys. That's really the whole point is that you're trying to do it right. And sometimes the math does seem like surface math and you have to look past the surface math, but this in particular thing is not one of them. The car loan, this happens to be probably the most common thing, right?
Right.
Yeah, where they're wanting to pay off the car loan and then with something that has a higher interest rate because it has more room or because they've designated that as the debt tool.
Right.
So yeah, I do
And
think.
when does that make sense? Because there is a time where this might make sense. It might make sense when the cash flow is so high, like you have so much cash flow available to you that you will never see that 28% interest rate because you're paying the balance down so fast. I can justify it all day long. But you tell me you've got $100 in cash flow and you're wanting to use this 28% dollar to pay off this 4.75% debt, your cash flow doesn't pay down the interest fast enough. So what ends up happening is you put yourself in a worse position because now you're paying more for that dollar. And so sometimes, and I think it's strange when you can almost see the faces shift when I say it, because I think you would think that I'm not a Dave Ramsey's fan, when the truth is I think there's a place for Dave Ramsey. And one of those is understanding how and when and why to use debt. I don't disagree with the baby steps. Sometimes the baby steps are required. Sometimes we have ourselves in a situation where we have to crawl our way through this process before we run our way through this process. And so I am a fan of debt snowball. Sometimes debt snowball has a place. And sometimes when we're talking about using a high interest debt to pay off a low interest debt, maybe it might make more sense to go after the smallest debt you have to build confidence, to build momentum, to get a small amount of, I'll call it cash flow moving. And then as that cash flow increases, it builds. And as it builds, then maybe you transition to a debt tool that maybe has a higher interest rate for you to be able to do velocity banking. But you're using debt snowball to put yourself in a position to where you have more cash flow and you use that greater cash flow to pay down that debt. So again, I love your point around sometimes it's counterintuitive. Our mind is telling us this doesn't make sense, but because the rules say this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm just trying to follow the rules. And I'm a guy that's going to step back and go, but what does your common sense say?
And who's making the rules?
Right.
Who's
It is
making the
it is
rules?
okay to build again. How many different ways are there to 10?
Yeah, infinite. There's a lot, including fractions, right? I mean, really, there's a ton. Yeah, we have a lot of questions coming up, but who's making the rules? And I think that is important because there are like bumpers, right?
Yeah.
For like the Dave Ramsey steppers,
Yeah.
but you can also baby step your way to being broke.
Amen. I was
You
talking to
can,
a guy today. He said I've been debt free twice was his response. I've been debt free twice. And I asked what happened. He said, well, every time I was debt free, he admitted it. Because I didn't have a place for the cash flow to go, I ended up getting myself right back into the situation. So you're absolutely right. You can baby step yourself right back to being broke.
dang, that stinks. Okay. Al Fletcher, if your work is more like a commission type work and there's slow periods, can you make big deposits during those busy times and get ahead of the monthly premiums? I think he's asking for MPI,
Yep.
right?
And I have to use our situation as an example here. We're entrepreneurs, which means our income fluctuates. Sometimes it's one way, and next month it might be totally different. So the the way we get around that is we actually contribute to our premium finance strategy in lump sum portions. So it's putting everything in at the start of the year, and then all year we're paying down our debt tool, we're paying down our HELOC to make room to then take another chunk at the start of the next year and do it again. So I'm a fan of put it this way. There are many different ways to contribute to a vehicle like this. You can do annually, you can do semi-annually, you can do quarterly, you can do monthly if you would like. Good
Yep.
question.
Yeah, and it's a great question because so many people are entrepreneurs
Yep,
and that's their reality too.
absolutely.
Okay, Shadowlick. I'm going with that one. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to
Yeah.
stop saying the
Thank you.
name.
Thank you for the thank you for the super chat, by the way. Super helpful. Thank you. Is there a step-by-step guide with diagrams? And I'm thinking that you're asking for velocity banking. And yes, we have many case studies where we walk through and talk about debt tools and how they're used. Oh, can you pull one up for us, Donnell?
I think I'm on the wrong. I don't know
Yeah,
that I have it.
we'll go on the right one.
All right, give me just a minute.
Okay, so why he's doing that? But yes, there are step by step, and I do think it's kind of cool to see how you talk through the velocity banking process, because some of the icons that relate to each thing, I think you'll start to identify them in our step by step case study streams. And our plan was in the beginning was to like condense our streams into more edited versions that were shorter. We don't know if everybody likes that or if it's just like, wow, we already saw this stream. So let us know if you want us to do that because we'll start doing that again for sure.
All right, you can jump
Okay,
over to the vibe board if you want.
sweet. Let's do it. Here we go.
So is there a step-by-step guide with diagrams? And I don't know about the diagrams part, but the step-by-step velocity banking from my perspective, from our perspective, is hold on. Let me get close to the mic. Hold on. Let me do that. Make this a little bit bigger. There we go. So traditionally, as income comes into your checking account, what happens? Well, income comes into your checking account. You have bills and such that need to be paid. So you pay those bills, and then what's left over hangs out in your checking account. And maybe you move what's left into savings. And so in essence, what's happening is your money goes out, spreads out, and eventually pays off the debt. And you're putting a little bit on each one of your debts, and eventually, hopefully, paying them off. Well, from a velocity banking perspective, what I like about velocity banking is the ability to use the same dollar multiple times. So from a velocity banking perspective, your income comes in and it goes into your checking account, but then it moves into a debt tool. And there are many types of debt tools. There are HELOCs, PLOCs, BLOCs, credit cards. There are many different types of lines of credit or debt tools that can be used to be able to accomplish velocity banking. The main three are usually some form of a HELOC, first position or second, some form of a personal line of credit, and some credit card, or a type of credit card. But you can also use a business line of credit as well, if it's structured for you to be able to do so. So the question is, what do you want to use as a debt tool? And once you identify that debt tool, how do you use it? So again, income comes in, goes into that debt tool, and then all bills are then paid. All bills are paid from that debt tool. And what ends up happening is whatever your cash flow is. And when I say all income that comes into your checking account goes in, that is to include savings. What you're doing is this debt tool, this credit card, this line of credit, this home equity line of credit, this debt tool is now becoming the place where your income lives, where your cash flow lives, where your savings lives. And as a result, whatever the balance was on the debt tool is immediately addressed. Using high level, looking at it from a high level perspective, let's say you've got your income is $5,000. And your debt tool has a balance of $10,000 on it. Well, when you take that $5,000 of income and dump it into this debt tool that has a balance of $10,000 on it, well, $5,000 going on to a $10,000 balance immediately drops the balance down to $5,000. But let's say your bills are $4,000. So now $4,000 are now going to come out of this debt tool to pay these bills. Once these bills are paid, that $1,000 that was left over now lives on the balance. So what was a balance of $10,000 is now a balance of $9,000. And then once these bills are paid and then the following month comes through, this cash flow lives on the debt tool, and then we turn around and we do it all again. The following month, you get paid again, another $5,000. It goes on to the debt tool that has a new balance of $9,000, knocks the balance down to $4,000. You pay your $4,000 in bills. The balance goes back up to $8,000. And now you have $2,000 of room on the debt tool. But notice something. And I think this is the piece that kind of gets confusing for people who do velocity banking. I am not focused on whatever those bills are that I'm paying from the debt tool. I'm simply paying the minimum. So if it's a car note, I'm paying the minimum on that car note. If it's other credit cards, I'm paying the minimum on those other credit cards. My focus is making sure the cash flow that I have lives right here. And as that balance starts to drop on that debt tool, when it gets to a point where some of the gurus have percentages, hey, if the balance is 60% of the limit, or if it's 80% of the limit, or whatever those percentages are, I'm a common sense guy. When you feel like you're in a position where the room on this debt tool is large enough for you to go attack another debt, go attack the debt. So again, using this example, $10,000 was the balance. $1,000 of cash flow has been living on that $10,000 every month. Let's say the balance comes down to $0. Now we need to go find more debt to pay. Well, here's where there's an opportunity to take some chunk. Let's call it $5,000. Take $5,000 from this debt tool. And maybe now we're going to take that $5,000 and go after one of these major bills like the car note. And instead of paying the minimum car note, whatever that monthly payment is, we're going to take that $5,000 and dump it as principal onto the car. And so what's happening is in the midst of paying down that debt tool, we've taken that same dollar from the debt tool, addressed bills, and taken a chunk out of that debt tool to chunk away at some of our larger debts. But again, then once we do that, the balance on the debt tool goes back up. And then we're going to do velocity banking all over again to get that balance down. But notice, I could care less as to what these bills are. I'm simply paying the minimums. Our focus is on paying off this debt tool. But in order to do all of that, there's some things that you have to know. And the biggest piece about understanding how to use the debt tool, what to put on the debt tool, how much cash flow can be used to pay down the debt tool. It's all about understanding your numbers. And that's where the tool that we've created, Christy Van has a tool, Denzel Rodriguez, there are many people have many different velocity banking tools that you can use to be able to understand what are your numbers. A key piece here for me, especially when you're reaching out to me to assist in this area, these tools are for you. These velocity banking tools, these worksheets, these books are for you to understand what are your numbers. What's your income? What are your expenses? What's your total debt? And ultimately, how much cash flow can now live on the debt tool so that you can pay it off faster? So leveraging these workbooks, these tools to be able to understand where you fit, where things are in this space. Yep. Thank you for pulling it up. And so ultimately, when you are wanting to better understand, to the gentleman whose income fluctuates, it's kind of hard to understand what your cash flow is when it looks one way one month and looks different another month.
Right.
So how do you address that? Well, this workbook is designed for you to capture where all of your expenses are, capture where all of your assets and your debts are. And I get it. Some of them, your income, because it fluctuates, there may be periods of time where one month you're paying more on to a debt, whereas in some other months you may be paying less. Well, that's where you would want to use the average of your income to better understand how long it would take to be able to address these opportunities. But again, this workbook, that's what it's designed for. And sweetheart, here's a piece that I don't know that I do well when it comes to educating people about this workbook, and that is the role that ChatGPT also plays inside of this workbook. Would you mind just kind of stepping through what that looks like?
Yeah. In the beginning, when we first set this whole thing up, we had, can you hear me better now?
Mm-hmm.
We had this flawless, beautiful prompt going down in the workbook. We were using ChatGPT 4, and then with some upgrade, I think, to the platform, it just wasn't as stable. So you couldn't just put in just this prompt and get it to do what I was telling you it would do. And so we just left it off and stopped talking about it as much. That's just not something that we can control. However, if you are familiar with ChatGPT, you can use this because you know how to use it. So if you are familiar with how to use it, then you know to tell it to stay on course, right? So you can still use the prompt that's on the ChatGPT tab inside of the workbook. Use that prompt, put it in, and then just copy and paste your the tabs. The instructions are all in there. But for the people who don't know how to use ChatGPT, that might be a little bit more difficult because I can't teach everyone how to use ChatGPT.
And I think the point on that then is don't use that tab. I mean, I would say ignore that tab, and that's because when I work with people who have pulled up the workbook and they've shared that section, when it's done properly, it's pretty dang effective.
Yeah, it is.
So I think it does a really, really good job of kind of modeling what the performance looks like over time. But what I gather, what I've taken from what it is you're saying is, if ChatGPT isn't in your wheelhouse, then don't worry about that tab and focus on the others. And again, the objective is for you to understand what your numbers are. What is your income? What is your debts? What is your assets? And calculating what that cash flow is, because it's the cash flow that's going to allow you to pay down that debt faster.
Now, something that we had kind of talked about, but we haven't really yet had this discussion with our group yet, is inside of our Facebook group. That might be a better place to go where others can join in. So it could be more like a Zoom call, but your audio or whatever could be in there to ask questions, and we can go through and walk through examples of using it. I'm fine with that as long as you are familiar with ChatGPT. And if you are not, then maybe you can partner together with somebody who is, to then go, since they've already got the prompt in, they could maybe copy, paste, and train one for you. So maybe that's something. There's a whole industry of people, a whole industry that's kind of evolving at this point, of people teaching others how to use ChatGPT. That's just not me right now. So I just didn't want to put that expectation out there. However, to your point, what you were just saying, if you do use ChatGPT, if you are familiar with it, then you can make your entire plan. You can start to forecast what this will look like. So whether your income is stable or it changes, you can do that and get your averages and have it do all that math for you. You just got to kind of keep an eye on it to make sure that it's staying on course. That's the problem. And I didn't want to give other people flawed expectations
Yeah.
around how to use this tool if they weren't familiar with it. So that's the part that makes it kind of hard. So that, yeah, that saying that, let me, we've got a bunch of questions piling up. So I
Yeah.
just want to make sure we can get to them.
Fire away. I've got and I've also got questions of my own if we need to identify some, but it sounds like there's enough in the chat, so let's do it. Cool.
Frankie, yeah, we should put your audio on these so people can hear what you're saying. Oh my gosh, she has this cracking up back here. Okay. Speaking of employer 401k, I feel there is no use there and I'll be taxed either way. Should I take the penalty hit at 47 and contribute the remainder to a SKIA?
So from as a fiduciary, I can't tell you it's okay to take the tax and penalty hit inside of your company's 401k to be able to put that money elsewhere to grow it. I understand the logic though. And I'll give you two examples. I have a lot of young people who I talk to about retiring early. And one of the things that I might ask a 28-year-old who has a company's 401k with, let's call it $25,000 in it, or $20,000 in it. And I get asked all the time, hey, I get it. This vehicle, the secure compound interest account is a little bit better. Should I go ahead and take this tax and penalty hit, which would be, let's say, roughly 30% on 20 grand is $6,000. So take this $6,000 hit on this $20,000 to be able to put the remaining $14,000 into this secure compound interest account so I can start building income. And then what comes out of that is this isn't my forever job anyway. So I would much rather be able to put this money somewhere where it's going to work for me regardless of where I am. Man, that's logic. I can justify that all day long. But what about the gentleman who's 47, been working for AT&T for the last 25 years, got $500,000 sitting in his 401k and asking me, hey, do you think it's a good idea that I take this 30% hit on $500,000 to dump this, what is that, 150? So dump this remaining $350,000 inside of a secure compound interest account? I honestly cannot justify that. Maybe there's an opportunity to take that $500,000 and move it into an annuity that is structured similar to a secure compound interest account that can perform with the market, has a 0% floor, and be able to produce income for you that can outperform what your company's 401k would be without you having to take a $150,000 hit to do it. Maybe that makes more sense. And in addition, maybe reduce your contribution inside of your company's 401k to just where the match is. Continue to take the free money. I mean, if you're working there and they're going to give you money, why not take it, right? And then take that difference and get that compounding. Take that difference and put that into a secure compound interest account. And so now you have money working for you in three places. You've got the $500,000 that is sitting inside of an annuity that's building wealth for you. You've got your company's 401k's match and whatever that small contributions you're adding to it, building some form of wealth for you. And then you take the difference and put it in a secure compound interest account. And you have your money working for you there as well. It's kind of where I live.
Beautiful. Cool.
Hey, Ben. See, can you explain that what MEC is and how do I figure out my MEC limit? Easiest way. So MEC stands for Modified Endowment Contract. And the moral of the story is if you have a properly designed product, because you shouldn't have to figure out what your MEC is. Your MEC is pretty obvious if you have a properly designed life insurance based product, especially if you're talking to anyone in my space that offers you a secure compound interest account. Because in order for you to produce the maximum amount of income possible, your policy has to be structured in the form of some max funded option B type structure. Max funded is saying we're purchasing the least amount of life insurance legally possible. Well, if you're purchasing the least amount of life insurance legally possible, the way that helps you is the less life insurance you buy, the more income you have available to be able, the more cash value you're able to build, which ultimately translates into more income for you and when it's time to need it. Ultimately meaning your policy is structured for the least amount of fees. Well, your MEC limit in that case should be very close to what it is you're contributing. So if you're contributing, I'll make up a number, $500 a month, which is $6,000 a year. Your MEC limit on $500 a month, which is $6,000 a year, should be $6,000 and let's say 3 cents. So what that means is the max you can contribute into this policy at this point in time is $6,000 and 3 cents. So if you go 3 cents over $6,000, your policy has been met. And I think agents use the word MEC as some type of scare tactic. But here's the truth, at least the truth from my perspective. The MEC is just, put it this way, if it's designed properly, you aren't allowed to MEC your policy. It would not be capable, you would not be capable of MECing your policy if it's one, structured properly and the guy you're working with understands what it is he's doing. Because the minute you will start approaching that possibility, we're going to make an adjustment. We're going to do one of two things. First, we're going to press pause on what it is you're trying to contribute. And second, we're going to reevaluate what the goals are, because it sounds like your objective is to get more money inside this policy. Okay, if you want to get more money inside this policy, aside from the $6,000 that you were approved for, then I want to understand why. Maybe it's, hey, I've got this bonus and I'm just trying to find a place to put it. Well, let's assess where you are in your policy. Maybe you're halfway through this year. Can you hold that lump sum till the following year, and then we adjust the limit on your policy to add this additional amount? Or maybe we look at the guideline max. So we talked about the MEC portion of your policy. Your policy should, if designed properly, also have a guideline max. So I'm sorry, not TAMR 7 pay. I didn't mean guideline max. I mean TAMR 7 pay. I'm sorry. You have a MEC, but you also have what's called a TAMR 7 pay. And what that says is there's a dollar amount that's over and above what you're currently contributing that you can add to your policy, but you can't exceed that number times 7 years. So in this example, let's say it's, again, using $500 a month, your guideline max, which is also your MEC, is $6,003. And let's say I'm making up a number. Let's say your TAMR 7 pay is $7,500. So what that means is this year, if you wanted to put in your policy more than $6,000, you have up to an additional $1,500 that you would be able to put in. You put in that additional $1,500, you've now put in $7,500 this year. But if you wanted to put in a total of $5,000, that remaining $3,500, we just have to wait till next year so that we can make the proper adjustments in your policy to increase the MEC limit so that you can get all of that money in. Well, what would be required of you to be able to increase that MEC limit to be able to get all of that money in? Well, you have to look at things from the life insurance company's perspective. The life insurance company assessed your health, assessed your age, assessed your income, and said, Ben, for $500 a month, $6,000 and 3 cents a year, you qualify for $150,000 in life insurance. If all of a sudden you wanted to double that dollar amount, what you're telling the life insurance company is you don't want $150,000 of life insurance. You want double the amount of life insurance, which is $300,000 of life insurance. You didn't ask for $300,000 of life insurance. And because you didn't ask for $300,000 of life insurance, they're assessing or trying to understand why you are asking for more. And so they're not saying you can't have it, but in order to do that, they need to confirm that their asset, which is you, is still healthy. And as long as their asset, which is you, is still healthy, then what they will do is ask you to take another health exam to confirm that you're still healthy, and then assess your health, income, and your insurability as to whether or not you qualify for that additional amount. And as long as you do, away you go. That's it.
All right. Give it up for you. That was a great stretch of answer there. Thanks for asking that question, Ben. Okay, question. With the IUL MPI strategy, there's 3 buckets of money: the general fund, cash value, and death benefit. The general fund is secure, but what fees and expenses may come out of the other two buckets? It's a great question. Do you want a second to pull up the buckets?
I'm thinking.
Okay. Think away.
I think I do want to go to the vibe board and give me a minute to get back to where I was, because I think this may be the easiest way to address this.
Okay. Well,
So, a couple things. The three buckets of money that you're referencing, the general fund, the cash value, and the death benefit, the general fund is what holds your premiums and any growth. So it's all sitting in the general fund. The life insurance that you purchased is not sitting in the general fund, but your premiums go into the general fund. And your death benefit is two numbers. Your death benefit is the cash value that you're building plus the life insurance that you've purchased.
you want the vibe board?
I'll get there.
Oh,
So because the general fund is where the money is sitting, the cash value is what's growing inside of the general fund, and the death benefit, again, is two numbers. It's the cash value that's sitting in the general fund, but the life insurance is not. The life insurance is the death. I'm sorry. The death benefit is two numbers, which is the life insurance that you originally purchased plus that cash value. And so, to understand, I'll call it the fees or what's kind of happening inside of a policy. Now you can jump over to the vibe board. What I think the easiest thing to do is just to understand what are the fees inside of cash value life insurance policies in general. And let's see. Yeah, I'll come this way. What are the fees inside of a cash value life insurance policy in general? Because it's not fees associated with the general fund or fees associated with the life insurance or fees associated with your cash value. There's three buckets of fees associated with all cash value life insurance products. This is not different for any I don't care if we're talking whole life, variable life, universal life. It does not matter the type of permanent life insurance we're referencing. All of them have the same fee structure. How those fees are structured is what makes them different. But the buckets of fees are the same. Where do the fees come from? Meaning, how are the fees accounted for? There's only one way. There are not many different ways. There's only one way, and it looks like this. So in this example that I'm sharing with you, and this is pretty old, we covered this already, but what's happening here is we've got a gentleman who is putting away, there we go. Change the color. Putting away $110,000 in year one, $10,000 every year after that. And there are fees associated with this account. Those fees, there's three buckets. There's premium charge, expense charge, and the cost of insurance. When do these fees come out of this account? These fees all come out of the account at the same time. When you put that $110,000 into the general fund, there are some fees associated with it. One is the premium charge, meaning every time you put in premium, the life insurance company says, hey, there's a cost to you putting in this premium. That cost is a certain percentage of the premium, and it's relative, meaning in this case, this gentleman is 45 years of age, preferred plus non-tobacco. So he's in great shape. He's putting in $110,000 at year one. That premium charge is $37.65. So if he was to put in $110,000 every year, there would be a premium charge of $37.65 every year. If he was only putting in $11,000 instead of $110,000, that fee would be $366 or $365 compared to $3,765, meaning it's relative. So in the case of year two, he's putting in $10,000, then that premium charge, the cost to this individual for putting in this $10,000 is $450. If he was only putting in $1,000, that cost would be $45. So it's relative. So that premium charge is associated with the premium being put in, that premium that's going into the general fund. Well, there's another bucket. That second bucket of fees is the expense charges. This expense charge, if you have a cash value life insurance policy and you've never seen this page, you should ask the question why. you should ask the question, who benefits from you not seeing this page? Because to me, this page is critical. This page tells you everything you need to know as far as what's happening in your policy. The expense charge is the cost of underwriting. It's the cost of me. It's the cost of the structure inside your policy. If it's an IUL, it's the cost of the actuaries who do the call options to be able to help your money grow faster. It's the cost of underwriting. It's the cost of exam one who's doing your health exam. This is where all of the expenses associated with your policy live. Notice the structure of this expense charge. It's 3216 at the start, so it's high at the start. It's front load. There's many different ways of calling it. It's a front loaded fee. It's a front loaded decreasing. There's many different names for this structure, but the bottom line is it gets less as you move through the policy. So first 5 years is 3216. Is that a lot? And then the second 5 years is 691. So what is the percentage of the 691 compared to the 3216? What is that? A fifth? So it went from being 3216 for the first 5 years down to a fifth of the total from years 6 through 10. And then from year 10 on, it's $60 a year for life. So the structure of this fee, again, all life insurance policies have this expense charge. How this expense charge is structured inside your policy is what makes it different. So this decreasing fee means, just in using from a common sense perspective, there's a fair amount that goes into building structure inside your policy. It gets easier as the years progress because your policy doesn't change much with the exception of the leverage that's going into your policy. And then at some point, your policy is on automatic. So the fees associated with it are pretty low. I've probably looked at, I'm probably pushing 400, but I usually say, I use the standard term I use. I've looked at well over 300 policies, but I'm probably pushing 4. And I'd say of those 300 policies that I've looked at, I'd say maybe 98% of them are poorly designed. And a large reason of why they're poorly designed, the large reason of why they're not making money inside of them is because of this section of fees, because this can be manipulated. If you're looking at your expense page and this is not a decreasing charge, what that means is whoever created this policy for you is continually making compounding interest off you. But if this is a decreasing fee structure, what that means is as you start making more money in your policy, the fees get less. And as the fees get less, you make more. As you make more, there's more income for you to be able to take, which is why when you compare policies like a secure compound interest account, like a premium finance strategy, like a properly designed IUL against infinite banking policies like whole life or poorly designed IULs or universal or variable life policies, this is the main feature that makes this different, is the structure of this expense charge. And then the last piece is the cost of insurance. This is the one where when you look at critics of a secure compound interest account or premium finance strategy like MPI, most critics harp on or like to highlight the cost of insurance. And what they say is, hey, the cost of insurance eats up the growth inside your policy. Well, if it's a poorly designed policy that has an expense charge that's compounding over time, then it may look as though as the cost of insurance increases, the cash value is decreasing. So therefore, your policy is being eaten up by the cost of insurance, when the truth is, this is the problem. You address this problem, and inside of a secure compound interest account, you have leverage. So you reduce the fees, you add other people's money to be able to grow your account faster. The cost of insurance can't compete with the growth. So therefore, there's not a risk of the cost of insurance eating up your policy. But these are the fees associated with the premiums going in. There are no other fees. There's nothing else sneaking up behind you. There's no additional cost associated with your policy. And if you have some type of cash value life insurance product, you should have a page that walks through these fees. Well, I do want to highlight one last charge, and it's the surrender charge. Every cash value life insurance product has a surrender charge. It's not a fee, it's a charge. As a matter of fact, I call it a what if charge. You won't hear that from anyone else. The reason I call it a what if charge is because if you do these things, then you will be impacted by this charge. But if you don't do this thing, then you will never see this charge. So another criticism that products like this get is the surrender charge can eat up your policy. Well, if you don't do this, then you will never see that charge. So what is the if? If you don't cancel your policy. And please don't confuse cancel with, I'll call it not contributing, or reducing your contributions, or stopping or ending the contributions inside of your policy. Please don't confuse canceling your policy with not contributing is my point. And so in this case, if you put in, I'll make it a little bit smaller. If you're putting in if you're putting in $110,000 and you go, nope, Donnell, MPI is not for me. A premium finance strategy is not for me. I want my $110,000 back. Well, the life insurance company is going to say, whoa, it took a lot for us to get here. There's a lot of, I'll call it effort that went in building this structure inside your policy. So if you want all of your money back, it may cost you $56,000 to do so. That's a lot. And then the following year, you put an additional dollar amount and you want everything back. Well, it's no longer 56,000, but it may cost you 52. So that is canceling your policy is what will result in this charge. But let's say you get here, you're 10. And it's not that you want to cancel your policy. It's that I have contributed for the last 10 years. I have gotten a relock feature. I've gone through a few jumps. I have the maximum amount of growth happening in my policy. I have decided that I am no longer contributing after year 10. So even though I've decided not to contribute after year 10, because I have leverage in these previous years, that doesn't mean there still isn't premiums being placed inside of my policy. So therefore, because my policy is still growing, still being contributed to year after year after year, even though I am no longer putting in my $10,000, I am not hit by surrender charges. So therefore, I am not impacted by any of this. And so therefore, my account continues to grow, even though I'm not putting in more money. I gave you way more than you asked for, I know. But
Right.
Bottom line is these are the fees, and there are no other fees. There's no hidden fees coming around the corner that's all of a sudden going to jump out at you and scare you. And again, if you don't know what your fees are inside your policy, check the person that provided you your policy, because they know the fees.
Okay. While you're there, follow-up question from Ben. If we have room in our policy to add a lump sum payment, can we just dump it in any time that year?
If we have room inside of our policy to provide a lump sum payment, can we do that any year? Let me give you
Any time in that year.
So if there's room inside your policy, theoretically, let me see if I can find it here. Yep, here we go. Yep. So this is that same example where you were putting in $110,000. And when you put in that $110,000 and then 10,000, is that too low? Yeah, it is too low. I'll bring it up.
Yeah, I'll hide the comments so that they can see.
If you're putting in $110,000 and you're putting in $10,000 every year after that, and again, nothing changes, then what's happening is there's a certain amount of cash flow, there's a certain amount of cash value that happened in this year one. And that cash flow was somewhere around $50,000. And that cash value started to increase as you continue to contribute your $10,000. Your question is, if I wanted to put more of a lump sum here, 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 and here, can I do that at any time? In truth, if your policy is properly structured, meaning it's built such that there's room inside your policy, which in this case there's room inside the policy for you to be able to add more money. Yes, you can do it. Can you do it at any point? I think my answer to that is what you would want to do is engage the people who are building the structure around your policy so that we can do it effectively. So I believe the short answer is yes, you can do it at any time, but you have to engage the right people to do it. So it means you can't just go into your online account. I'm going to decide to dump in another $50,000. What we want to do is one, make sure if there's space, if there's room inside your policy, that you don't put too much in to make your policy. So you want to reach out to someone who understands how the structure works inside your policy to confirm that the dollar amount that you're wanting to put in actually is not too much and not impacting the potential of mecking your policy. And can it be done at any time? Again, theoretically, yes, but during the process of trying to just establish and make sure that there is enough room in your policy to be able to do so. And when I say what I'm calling room is this space right here. If you're trying to close that space right here, this is actually how MPI works. MPI is closing this space right here. And so can you do that at any time? If we built it right and you have the proper room inside your policy to do so, again, the short answer is yes. But I would suggest you reach out to the person or the team that's associated with building this structure so that we can effectively do it right. And Frankie, you're killing me.
We need a Frankie cam. She's gonna end up with one. Yes, you are gonna end up with one.
Well, while you're playing, I can throw Frankie up here right now. Like I do
Yeah,
have that ability.
we literally can, and we should, because of she turned her camera off. She's taking pictures with filters of herself and then putting them up in the camera so that we can see them backstage. And of course, we're laughing. You guys don't know why we're laughing. Yeah, but that's why, because she's our backstage comic relief.
That's right.
She's on double duty. Yeah.
What's the next question, sweetheart?
Yeah, it's Frankie's question actually.
Let's do it.
Can you go a short walkthrough?
Short. See what she doing to me? I see the dig. It's like a underhanded. Keep going.
Okay, can you go a short walkthrough the snowball method and how it works? Tell us
Okay.
about it.
Okay.
Oh, and you know why this is also important? Because there's a conversation going on in the chat about can you do velocity banking with negative cash flow? You need cash flow in order for velocity banking or debt reduction to take place. Otherwise, negative cash flow suggests that you are in the red every single month. You're just adding more debt, right? So you have to have cash flow. But what I did say was you can start with the snowball method. Now, the only way that you can start with the snowball method, even then, is if you have positive cash flow. You have to free it up somewhere. However, taking a look, filling out your worksheet, for instance, would be a great place for you to really get serious about your numbers. This is, for some people, this is their come to Jesus moment. This is their aha moment where they go, dang, I had no idea this was actually our cash flow. I was thinking we were in a better position than we actually were. But truth be told, if you were to ask me what my cash flow is, I would have said it was like $1,500 a month. After I did the worksheets and after I saw it on paper, we actually are like $200-300 a month. And that's not okay, because that's
Right.
big difference from where we thought we were, right?
Right.
So this is, I think, an important thing to talk about. The difference even in something like debt snowball versus velocity banking, and why those two things really are different.
Right. And I gotta, you say it, my mind won't shut off unless I respond to it.
Okay.
And it's the can, can you do velocity banking with negative cash flow? Yes, you can. Should you? Does it mathematically make sense? Are you putting yourself in a more negative situation by doing so? So there's to me, there's a lot more layers to peel back from there. But can you do velocity banking with negative cash flow? You can do anything you want to do, but does it mathematically make sense?
But
Does it
aren't you
put
just moving money around with
exactly? Are
negative
you
cash
just
flow?
robbing
You're not
Peter to
doing
pay
velocity
Paul?
banking. Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
So that's my challenge there. But now, as it relates to Debt Snowball, here's a problem with me and Debt Snowball. By the way, this is my idea of Debt Snowball. I don't know that if you Google Debt Snowball and the directions they laid out the directions, what I'm about to share with you are what they are. This is based off my common sense. And I say this all the time when I'm talking, and Frankie has wine. Should we introduce wine to,
We could do
should we introduce
happy
wine
hour.
do
Yeah.
maybe that's our third live. It's a happy hour live.
Yeah, Friday.
I like that. I like that. Okay. Anyway,
Pam.
so from a debt snowball perspective, here's why and where I first introduced debt snowball. When I'm dealing with someone who they're trying to identify a debt tool to be able to use for velocity banking, and in looking at their information on their sheet, cannot identify a debt tool, meaning they have credit cards, but they're high interest credit cards, and that mathematically doesn't make sense to necessarily go after first to be able to pay off low interest debt. And so then I group the debt from smallest to highest, meaning maybe you've got this Macy's credit card that has a $500 balance on it. And the next debt might be a Citibank card that has a $1,200 balance on it. And so my perspective on debt snowball is attacking the smallest debt first, meaning whatever your cash flow is. Let's say it's using simple math, let's say it's $500 a month. Your cash flow is $500 a month. We have not identified a debt tool because all of your debt tools, the interest rates are so high, or the balances aren't large enough, not balances, the credit limits aren't large enough on your potential debt tools for it to make sense to put all of your income into it to be able to pay all of the bills from it. So what we do is velocity banking, in essence, if you were to sum it up, is really about the cash flow paying off a debt. That's really all velocity banking is. You're taking your cash flow to pay off a debt. Well, do you need a debt tool to use your cash flow to pay off a debt? So if your cash flow is $500 a month, and normally that $500 would just sit in savings, and then you spend it going to the movies, going out to eat on a Friday, and then realize the $500 isn't there anymore. If you just simply took your cash flow and addressed the smallest debt first. Okay, so in this scenario, the smallest debt is a Macy's credit card that has a $500 balance. There's other credit cards with higher balances, but the smallest one is this $500 credit card with a $500 balance, and you're paying 10%. You're paying $50 a month. Well, at the end of the month, when you've paid all of your bills, that $500 is sitting in checking. Simply take that $500 and pay off, put it on that Macy's card and pay it off. And once you pay it off, what happens? Well, your cash flow for the following month just went from $500 to $550. So the smallest card is paid off. You've just increased cash flow $50. And now you move to the next smallest debt. Maybe the next smallest debt is $1,500 and you're paying $150 a month. Okay. If your cash flow is $550, meaning this is month 2, your cash flow is $550 and the smallest debt is $1,500. How many 550s would it take to pay down or pay off $1,500? Well, simple math, $500 times 3 is $1,500. So theoretically, it would take 3 more months for you to just simply take your cash flow, put it onto that second smallest debt to pay it off. So you paid the first one off in a month, the second one off in 3 months. So at the end of 4 months, your cash flow went from $500 to $550 to now, what is that? $700. So in 4 months, you've just now used debts, meaning you're snowballing. You're paying the smallest debt off first, and your cash flow is starting to snowball, starting to get bigger. And as your cash flow starts to get bigger, that means you can now start addressing debt faster. And as you can start addressing debt faster, that puts you in a position to now potentially be able to shift to a debt tool. But before, when you only had $500, if you were to put all of your income onto that 28% credit card, pay all the bills from that 28% credit card, and that $500 living on that 28% credit card, and the monthly cost to you on that 28% credit card is more than $500. Guess what? You just ate up your cash flow. And now at year 2, what do you do? I'm not year 2. At month 2, what do you do? And so I'm a fan of Debt Snowball because it allows you to, one, build confidence, because when you see these smaller debts start to get paid off, you feel better. You feel like this is actually working.
Yeah.
And so you start to feel better. You're building confidence. Debt is actually being addressed. And you're putting yourself in a position to where now you have more cash flow to now maybe even make better financial decisions, to also maybe even get credit limits increased, to improve utilization, to put yourself in a better position to where you can get a more effective debt tool. So that's my take on Debt Snowball.
It improves your DTI too.
Yeah,
It's the
there's a lot.
fastest.
It's a lot.
Do you remember the first time that I tried to do a velocity banking example on my own, and I thought I was a freaking genius, but I had just done debt snowball the whole time. Because it's easy, debt to income ratio. What's DTI? Yeah. Um, because it's easy to do it, it's easy to see why this works when you can see the cash flow is starting to grow every time that you remove a payment, right? So now you're just looking for what's the biggest payment that I can go after with the smallest balance, and you could even do it that way if you
Right.
want. But
Right.
I actually do really like the debt snowball method, especially for beginners, because of what you said in regards to building your
Confidence.
confidence. Being able to check those boxes and feel like you are achieving something along the way, like that is key. If we had to go through school and we never got grades, if we never got like completed the year, right, and moved on, and now we're called something different because we're in a different year, if that never occurred, it would be really hard to feel like we had completed something and we just had to keep going on until we're 18 years old. And for some people, debt reduction feels like that. It
Right.
feels like I've got 100K in debt, and so until I'm done with this, I'm just going to like silo my vision in on nothing else until I'm done with this. And that's where people get themselves in trouble. 13, 15, 20 years later, now they're debt free, but they're debt free and broke. Or now they're debt free, but now they have cash flow that hasn't been working for them for all this time. So it wasn't really helping them to make that the primary goal. It would have been better to strategize and work the numbers and said, okay, at what point in my journey could I start compounding my money? Could my money start growing? And I'm also uh, reducing the debt, right? So that
Absolutely.
I want to also put it in there that it's important to talk about when you're on your velocity banking journey, to have your goal as the forefront and focus.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Because if the thought process is I'm doing this so that I can no longer have this bill, what ends up happening is once that bill is gone, your mind goes, I'm free to go make another bill. And you end up
Yeah.
putting yourself right back into the same place.
Yeah.
What's up,
Okay.
Randy?
On the note of velocity banking, I have a home, but was not educated in how to use lines of credit. I
None of
still
us
have
were.
the house, but I'm told I can't get to the money because I now live in another state. Is there any way to get the HELOC? That,
I have
Randy,
a
who'd you
home.
talk to? Randy, tell
So
us
I
in the
have to make
chat.
some assumptions here that you live in another state in a primary residence and the home in another state, the prior state, is a secondary residence or an investment property at this point. So because we can look at these both ways, meaning, or you're living in another state in an investment property and your primary residence is in another state. So I have to make some assumptions here. When you're in a primary residence and you're trying to gain equity or take advantage of anything that's outside of your primary residence, I will say it is a challenge. We've gone through several velocity banking scenarios where the individual that we were talking about had a choice. They have their primary residence that has equity in it. They have their investment properties that have equity in it. And should I do a first position HELOC on this what do you call it? This investment property, or should I do a second position HELOC on the primary residence? And in each one of those examples, maybe not each, but in most of those examples, I have chosen to do the second position HELOC on the primary residence because it's easier. Less hoops to jump through, less qualifications from the bank versus using the equity inside of the investment properties. Usually, if you see me do a velocity banking example where I'm using the equity from an investment property, 9 times out of 10, the balance is so low. 9 times out of 10, it probably even paid off. So there's no mortgage because you have to find the right lenders that will lend to you for your investment property. They do exist. They are out there, but you do have to search, you have to hunt, you have to find them, and that takes a little bit of effort. Or you need to be in the right networks to be able to leverage the equity inside of your investment properties. So again, not fully understanding your scenario. So I have to make an assumption that you're living in a new primary residence and you have a prior residence that maybe is free and clear, and you're wanting to be able to access the equity in it. There are banks or credit unions out there. What I would suggest is, I don't know if it's necessarily, you know, my traditional response is you go to Google, you put your zip code in, and you draw a circle around that home, and you interview banks around that home. I don't know in this case that that strategy works. Maybe it's more of a, you're looking for a lender who lends to invest to entrepreneurs and investment, real estate entrepreneurs and investment opportunities is what you're looking for. And those are specific custodians. Those are specific banks.
I feel like I was sitting too low and now I'm up too high. I don't know. I'm going to work with it. Okay, so thank you, Randy, for that question. By the way, I think this would be a great question for Anthony. He's going to come on to our show here soon.
And who is Anthony?
Anthony Rushing of First Lane HELOC of First Savings Bank. And he is going to be able to start educating people from right here on how to qualify and how to put themselves in a position to be able to leverage a first position HELOC in the best way possible. So that is something that we can't represent because we're not lenders, right? Is that how to qualify, how to get yourself set up to qualify for one. We can tell you how to use it once you got it. We can tell you the benefits of having one so that you want one, right? But we can't tell you how to qualify because we're not in that space, nor would we want to, you know, give out wrong advice or represent something that's just not our lane. And that's okay. We brought somebody who is an expert in this field. And as a matter of fact, he's on the top list of many of the courses that sell these lists of who these people are who have, and the gatekeepers. These are the people behind the gate, and we're bringing them on our channel. So we're excited. Stay tuned for that because that'll start soon. Okay, let's move on to Lolo. She says, does the IUL using MPI have a living benefit or chronic or terminal illness? I'm
Yeah.
assuming she meant like rider or benefit. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the cool parts about, again, I go back to properly structured products in general. Most that are properly structured come with a terminal and chronic illness rider. So you don't have to add it. You don't have to pay some additional dollar amount, but just know any rider you add to any policy is a cost to you. But in the case of maximum premium indexing, this strategy, the IUL that we use and life insurance companies that we partner with, the A+ rated life insurance companies that we partner with, the terminal chronic illness rider comes with this product.
I don't get why it doesn't come with every product.
Because we are capitalists in this country, and these companies are designed to make money. And it just so happens that the life insurance companies that are designed to make money are using you as the asset. So in order to get the most money out of you as the asset, we offer this menu of options for you to have so that you can pay for them and so that we can make as much money off you as possible. And I go back to the 3 buckets of fees. That's why you're not making money inside of your cash value life insurance product, because you think you're getting something for free when nothing is for free, and it's about the structure. So
Well, and like the cash value policies, we were having that discussion inside the group, and I said, go Google up what happens to your cash value when you die. What happens to it? And unless you are paying for an additional rider, right? Unless you are paying to be able to keep that and have it be a part of it, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's structured that way. Even though people will say, no, you can keep your cash value, but knowing the outcome and all, there's so much to learn here. So I understand why people are out here going like, well, this person said this and this person said that. So how am I supposed to know?
right. How do I identify a person that's, capable of providing a properly structured life insurance product for me? I would say interview them all. Pit them all against each other. Mike over here at State Farm said this. Donnell over here said that. John over here at Mass Mutual said this. You pit them all against each other.
Oh yeah, and my favorite one is when you book a call with Donnell and then you invite that guy who told you the other advice, you invite him to come on. Or you know what you could do? You could book a call with the guy and book a call with Donnell at the same time. Bridge them together and have that and use your time that way too.
So
You
Monday,
sure can, because it's your time and it's your strategy. This is your future.
my Monday
Do it.
morning meeting included a Zoom call with a gentleman, fairly young gentleman, about 34. And he starts off the Zoom with, I hope you don't mind. I hope this doesn't change what we're about to talk about, but I'm a financial advisor. And I said, oh no, financial advisor. But I was just playing with him.
What did he
And
say?
well, and what I told him was, so here's what I'll do. I I heard you when you said you're a financial advisor, but I will treat you as though you're not. I will treat you as though I have no idea as to why you're here. And I
Okay.
will treat you as though you've never heard of what a secure compound interest account is. And we're going to start from ground zero. And I'm going to build this as though I am just now educating you as though you've never seen a video, have no idea as to what finance is. And at the end, I just need feedback from you to know whether or not I have met your expectation. And
Mm,
by the end of it, he was like, yeah, I got to do this. It doesn't
that's
matter your
powerful.
position. It doesn't matter if you're a financial advisor. It doesn't matter if you're a life insurance guy. If your goal is to serve, then you're going to share the information that allows people to be able to achieve their goal. Because it's less about he's a financial advisor. It's really about what's your goal? What is the objective? Why are you even on this call? What are you looking for from me? What are the objectives you're trying to hit? And then let's structure things so that we can help you hit that goal. And what I kept throwing back at him is I kept throwing his products back at him, meaning you offer this 401k and this IRA, and he's 34. I said I started this off with at age 34. When you're talking to people about retirement, what is the retirement age you tell them they have to be in order for them to touch their money? And he gave me 59 and a half. I didn't
Well,
give it to him. He
but
gave me
but
59 and a half.
hold on, hold on. He didn't make that number up. That number
Right.
was given to him because that is what's tied to the products that
Exactly.
he's able to work with.
And I said, sir, you're 34 years of age. Are you excited about waiting till 59 and a half before you can touch your retirement dollars? And he goes, no. And I said, well, let me show you why you don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for sharing that, because I don't get to hear all of the calls. I get to hear some of them, some of your stories that you guys have shared, and I get the honor, really the privilege of hearing some of them. And where people are, sometimes my heart just sincerely breaks for where people are. And I love that we get to have these conversations. I love that you get to have your private conversations with Donnell, and that by the end of that conversation you have a strategy, and it's almost like the clouds parted, right? Because now they can see the road in front of them, right? I don't have that sound. Yeah, I have this one.
That that was legitness. Yeah.
It's not really the same. Yeah, it's not the same. Okay, but the point is it's close-ish. Um, I really love that you guys are willing to share your situation. And here's why I'm saying this. Here's why it's important. For those who don't, and they start their calls off with you sharing this much of their situation, it impacts what you would tell them you would do if they now all of a sudden say, okay, well, what about if it's looks like this, right? Or what if it looks like this? Or I told you it was yellow, but it's actually purple. Then you could have been having the conversation about purple the whole time and used their time for that. Sometimes that's a trust issue, and we get it. That's your business, right? It's not
Yeah.
our business, but we can't help you if you aren't willing to share. So I just want to say that for those who have not booked their calls, or who have booked their calls and they're waiting, just dive in, just put it out there, because the whole goal is to help you reach your goal. And if we don't know what your factors are and what variables are in that equation, then the result is going to be different, right?
Well, and again, you said it, so now I got to respond to it.
Okay.
And that is when you're booking that call, I do sincerely mean this when I say it. Why are you booking the call? What is the goal? And if the goal is to learn more about a secure compound interest account, well, I hope you would agree we've done a decent job of putting as much material as possible for you to go learn what a secure compound interest account is. So when we meet, we should be connecting dots, meaning it should not be, what is MPI? Because I guarantee you it's highlighted if you were to go to self-directed.info and just scroll down a little bit. That information is there, and it's not even my words. And then when we meet, it's not, what is MPI? It's like, okay, I understand that this is a life insurance product that's designed to produce income. However, when this dude said this, that doesn't make any sense to me, because when I think of, matter of fact, when I look at my whole life policy and when I do infinite banking, when I try to do these exact same things, I can't. So why is it that you can do this and I can't? Now let's connect that dot. Not what is the basic of this item that we're talking about. And then, but let's say your goal is, you know what? I'm doing velocity banking. I'm working with Christy Van. I've had my meetings with her. However, you talk about using this tool, this HELOC, and you talk first position versus second position. Like, why would one work better than another, and when would one work? And so now, it's connecting a dot, not what is a HELOC or what is velocity banking, or I don't know what my numbers are, or I haven't taken the time to understand what my cash flow is. So before we meet, let's understand what the goal is and take the time to go to self-directed.info to get that information you need to maybe educate yourself. Because a lot of times when I meet with you, it's like I'm eager to talk to you about what is MPI or how do we connect dots within MPI or a secure compound interest account. You go, I've done all of that. Like, I understand what it is this product is. Now what I want to do is make sure my numbers match. I'm looking to put in this dollar amount. I'm this age and I want to hit this goal by this point. Oh, and by the way, once we do that, how do I even get started? Like, do I go to MPI.com and I fill out an application to get my own policy? Like, how do I go about that? Like, those are some different conversations, because it's less about what is this tool and how does it work, and more about how do I get to my goal? Because as Donnell and Angelique have said, I don't have a whole lot of time. So I've got to pay myself first, and it has to start today. So how do I get this thing started right now so that I can pay myself first, starting today in a secure account, get my money compounded, and then exponentially grow it so that I can start producing the wealth that I want? And to me, that's what these conversations should be looking like.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for sharing that. And also, knowing your numbers is really important. So make sure you have them all in there. Make sure you have them all in there. Do it. Okay, Tom Peoples says he wants to, it would be nice if we did a walkthrough on that monster Excel problem solver tool that I downloaded from your link. Tom, I hope you did not download it, because you should have been making a copy. Downloading sometimes breaks the formulas inside the cell because it's a Google sheet. Download it as an Excel spreadsheet, and sometimes it doesn't always translate over. So sometimes that does break it. We did do a walkthrough. We haven't done a whole bunch of walkthroughs, but give me a second. I'll have Donnell maybe answer a couple more questions, and maybe we can do one. See if other people who are watching also want the walkthrough.
But for those in the Facebook group, isn't there a video?
Yeah.
There a walkthrough? So there is a walkthrough inside the Facebook group, Tom. If you're interested, you can absolutely, and again, I get it. You might not be on social media. You might hate social media.
No, I'll go grab the video.
Okay. But if you simply just jumped over to the Facebook group, join the team there, you could actually have that video sitting right there at the top, and you can actually watch it there. Give me some questions, Frankie.
All right. Well, here's Darian. We have a few from him, and I know you have others from him, right?
Yep. So it's funny, Darian. I didn't know who was going to be on tonight and how many people we would have. So I wanted to grab questions, and I grabbed all. Matter of fact, I responded to you. I said we were going to cover them on the live, and we haven't gotten to them yet. So you can hang out for a while. I can address them all right here if you would like. So
this is the Darian hour. Hold on a second. It's just for you, guy.
All right. So why not just pay $1,000 a month on the debt tool to reduce the balance on the debt tool without putting your entire check on the debt tool? What is the value of putting the entire paycheck paycheck through? I love this question because I don't disagree with you. Some people overcomplicate velocity banking, meaning they don't do velocity banking because they can't get their mortgage paid through the debt tool. If you can't get your mortgage paid through the debt tool, then don't pay your mortgage through the debt tool. The whole goal is to make sure your cash flow is paying down the debt on the debt tool. So I partially agree with you with if your cash flow is $1,000 a month, why not just put that $1,000 a month on the debt tool and pay it down? I'm with you there. But what is the value of putting your whole check on? And again, I go back to that $10,000 example. Let's say you've got a $10,000 debt tool, or the balance on that debt tool is $10,000, but your income is $5,000. When you put all $5,000 onto the debt tool, this is where you get into the particulars and you peel down the layers. Timing matters. What if the statement date for that debt tool was today, 11/1? Statement date on that credit card or that line of credit, whatever it is, the statement date is 11/1, meaning the balance 3 days prior to today is what registers on 11/1, and that's how much interest is going to be accrued on that debt tool. So it's today, 11/1. Well, 5 days prior to today, you put all 5,000 of your income onto this debt tool. What did that just do? Well, it took the balance of $10,000. You put 5,000 on. It took the balance of 10 down to 5. So now you have $5,000 of room on this debt tool. 3 days later, the statement date hits and the account registers at the lowest point possible how much interest you owe on the balance that's left over, $5,000. But then from the statement date forward, you're paying your bills. It ends up being $4,000 over the month. So you've paid $4,000 of bills, and then that $1,000 of cash flow is what's left. Couple things. Hopefully you notice you've paid the least amount of interest because you put all of your income onto the debt tool. That's number one. Number two, you put $5,000 onto the debt tool that satisfied the payment that was due on that debt tool. So you use that dollar once when you satisfied the payment. And that room that you created on the debt tool reduced the amount of interest. But then you took that exact same dollar and then you paid a bill. You paid your cell phone bill. So you just took that same dollar, used it twice, got two different uses out of it, which ultimately puts you in a position to where you're accumulating the least amount of interest possible. And then again, so after the statement date, throughout the next 25 days, you've been making payments. But then 5 days before the next payment is due, or 5 days before the next statement date, you put your income again in on the next month, which did what? Brought the balance from 8,000 or 9,000 down to 4. And now it's down at the lowest point possible for when the statement date adds again. So why do this? It's all about timing and strategy. So I think when most people are talking about velocity banking, they don't go into that depth because I think it's almost intuitive that the whole point is to make sure you're paying the least amount of interest on that debt tool. If you were only doing the $1,000 a month, you're paying more in interest over that time frame. Hopefully that makes sense. What other questions we got, Frankie?
Well, did you have other questions from
Darian?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, I do. I can go. I can go to the board and grab them if you want.
Yeah, that was.
Okay. Give me a moment. I can't look at you, Frankie.
I know, Frankie. We're trying at this point. We're just trying not to look at Frankie because her goal is like, it's like a game. Don't look at Frankie. Just don't even look at her down there. We're gonna put her on a Frankie cam. Yeah, we're gonna have to do that. I do think so. I was gonna bring up maybe even the people who are watching, since we have so many people who watch on the TV. We haven't done this yet. So while you're bringing that up, we'll go here. That this is how you can ask us questions if you're watching from your TV and you're not inside of the chat. So we'll be looking for those Only while we're live, though. So if you're a replay viewer and you're texting us questions, we'll have to get back with you when we can. But if you're asking us while we're live, then we will do our best to get to you. So screenshot it, get your phone out, take a picture, and it will pull up the text message app for you. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so you ready?
Yep.
You want me to go to the whiteboard?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that might be good. All right. Yeah.
Repeat what she said.
Yeah, that's Frankie saying, if we do a Frankie cam, she could also maybe answer some underwriting questions. So that would be good. Yeah, I like that.
All right. So, Darren, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think the first question, what is MPI, is yours. What questions to ask as it relates to design is yours. But I think one of your questions was, can a second position HELOC be leveraged for a secure compound interest account? And the short answer to that question is absolutely. A second position HELOC can be leveraged to contribute to a secure compound interest account. And to be specific, that is how we fund our secure compound interest account. It's not a second position HELOC, it's a first position, but the bottom line is a HELOC is a HELOC is a HELOC. And absolutely, you can leverage it to be able to do anything you need. The key, though, is your cash flow. Understanding how much extra money you have every month to be able to pay back that HELOC for dumping some portion of it into your secure compound interest account. So can you do it? Absolutely. I think the next one is yours as well. Can you roll an annuity into a secure compound interest account? So what we're talking about there, and I don't know if I need to highlight this or anything. Here, let me make it a different color. So again, the first question was this one. So the next one is, can you roll an annuity into a secure compound interest account? So rolling an annuity. I think what you're saying there is, can I use qualified money like an IRA, a 401k, 403b, TSP, government 457 plan, annuity? Can you use a qualified account to be able to fund a secure compound interest account like any cash value, properly structured cash value life insurance policy? And the short answer to that question is no. Why is that? Well, IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, TSPs, and those alike are what's called qualified plans. You can move an IRA to a 401k, a 401k to a 403b, a 403b to an annuity, and vice versa. So you can move qualified plans amongst each other. Why? Because they are all under the same 401 or same IRS code, the 401 code. And so therefore you can move qualified plans penalty-free, tax-free amongst each other. Whereas most, if not all, I don't even know why I said most, all secure compound interest accounts, all properly structured cash value life insurance products, all life insurance products in general function under a different IRS code, 7702A, and there's probably three others that I can't name. But the bottom line is they function under a different code, and you cannot move money from a qualified plan functioning under this IRS code to another plan functioning under that one. Now, you can take a tax hit, you can take a penalty hit, and you can put that money into a secure compound interest account. Would I suggest that? I can't. That is, I would say that is not a good use of your money. But can you take that tax and penalty hit, move that money in? Yes, you can. What about, can you roll an annuity into an 8% fund? And again, I'm going to scratch out the word annuity and use the word qualified money. Can you roll qualified money into the 8% fund? So now I have to define the 8% fund, but let me also step back and highlight annuity real quick. 9 times out of 10, when you have an annuity, that money is trapped. Whatever the commitment was, that money is trapped into that annuity until it's annuitized. If you move that money or take that money out or do something else with that money, 9 times out of 10, there are surrender charges that you may get hit by. Now, if you have depending on how that annuity is structured, you may or may not. So that's why I'm scratching out the word annuity, and I'm really talking about, can you take qualified money and move that qualified money into the 8% fund? Well, what is the 8% fund? Well, the 8% fund is a fund. I think the best way to kind of describe it is it's a crowdfunding opportunity, meaning it's a fund that these gentlemen guarantee if you were to invest your money and I do mean invest, I didn't say save, invest your money in their 8% fund, which is a fund designed for real estate ventures across the country. If you invest your money into this 8% fund, there is a guaranteed growth of 8% on your money. So if we're using qualified dollars, what is the one thing that we harp on about one of the problems with IRAs, 401ks, whether Roth or traditional? It's the fact that when you go to take a distribution, that distribution is based off the 4% rule. Well, this is a fund that guarantees 8%. So at a minimum, you're getting 50% more than you were potentially going to have inside of your traditional retirement account. So can you roll an annuity into that 8% fund? Short answer to that question is yes. How you go about it? Well, what's happening is that dollar amount inside the qualified money you're looking to move is actually then transferred into a self-directed IRA. And then it's that IRA that's used to then partner with the 8% fund. And then from that 8% fund, you're getting this guaranteed growth. And I think the commitment is like 4 years. I don't really know the full details, but here's the caveat. You do have to be a qualified investor. And so if you're wanting to be able to invest in the 8% fund, you do need $1 million of assets. I think that's what qualifies you as a qualified investor to be able to do so. Or if you're using qualified money, there has to be a minimum of $50,000 inside of that qualified account to be able to invest in the fund as well. Moral of the story is if you want to know more, the easiest thing to do is to get on my calendar or shoot me a text and we can talk a little bit more about it. And then the last one is, can you roll qualified dollars into a self-directed IRA or 401k? And the answer is 100%. You absolutely can move that previous employer's plan from where it is into a self-directed IRA or 401k to be able to invest in what you want. It's that self-directed IRA or 401k that allows you to put the money here. So it's the same structure. And that is something that I kind of specialize in as far as being able to create that structure for you to be able to invest in what you want. Can an IUL be used for infinite banking? Can an IUL be used for infinite banking? And here, I just want to make sure that we understand the terminology. An IUL, an index universal life insurance policy, is a type of permanent life insurance. Infinite banking, the infinite banking concept, it's a strategy. It's a strategy applied to life insurance products. So can you apply the strategy of infinite banking to a life insurance product like an IUL? And the short answer to that question is absolutely. It's all about structure, though. The structure of that policy matters. Sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it does not. And that kind of goes with the question below that. Can an IUL be used for infinite banking? And what about MPI? And again, it's about terminology. You cannot buy, and even though I know I make this mistake in saying it sometimes, when you're on a call with me, I know I have referenced this in this fashion, and I do apologize because I think I do it because of ease, not because it's the truth. And this is what I mean. Maximum premium indexing or a premium finance strategy like MPI is not a life insurance policy. You cannot go to any life insurance company and get an MPI policy. The same way you cannot go to any cash value life insurance provider and get an IBC policy. You can't. Infinite banking is a concept. It's a strategy. MPI, maximum premium indexing, is a premium finance strategy. So you can get that strategy. So can an IUL be used for MPI? Well, MPI is a strategy applied to an IUL. But I think what you really mean is, can MPI be used for infinite banking? So you're basically saying, can a properly designed IUL with a premium finance strategy also be used for infinite banking? Can you do infinite banking with a properly designed IUL that's already structured to do maximum premium indexing? And the short answer to that question is absolutely, all day long. Without getting into infinite banking, the moral of the story around that is infinite banking it's in the name. There's infinite ways to use your cash value to do the things that you want to do. There are infinite ways to use the cash value inside of a premium finance strategy, a properly designed IUL to do whatever it is you want to do. So the short answer is yes. Can I make? I don't think these last few questions are yours, Darian. So I think those were all of yours that I had grabbed. There may be others, but I think those were the ones that I had grabbed. But I'll continue down this list. Can I make annual contributions? And I think I hit on this earlier. Not only can you make annual contributions, you can make semi-annual, quarterly, and also monthly contributions as well. And if you're doing annual, semi-annual, is semi-annual correct or is it biannual? I don't even know.
Yeah,
But anyway,
semi-annual.
can you do annual, semi-annual, or quarterly? If you are doing semi-annual, annual, or quarterly payments, those payments have to be paid either via check or via wire. If you're doing monthly payments, those can be automatically taken from your account. So I gave you a little bit more there than you were expecting. Are there fees? In most cases, when you have a cash value life insurance policy, you can also pay online through your provider. So wherever, if that life insurance policy is with Mass Mutual or NLG or whatever, you can make those payments online as well. And then what was that? I can't see the last question because that question is there. Can you?
Oh, I was asking you to pause since you're on topic.
Oh, I didn't hear the pause part. Go ahead.
Just to address this question because it's on topic.
Okay.
I said that
question.
already.
So if I get started with MPI, what do you mean if? Of course you're going to get started with it anyway. If I get started with MPI now without a lump sum, would I be able to contribute a lump sum at some point before the first year is up, provided it is set up properly? And I think it's the last statement, provided it is set up properly. If you wanted to put in some, I'll call it an additional dollar amount, can I build your policy such that you have the room to be able to put in that extra amount later in the year? It can be designed that way. But what happens if you fail to put in that lump sum or that extra dollar amount by the end of the year? You have now, or I have now, because I created it for you, I created a policy that is now underfunded. I created a policy that is now inefficient. So can you structure the policy so that you have enough room to be able to put that lump sum in later? Yes, you can. But my suggestion would be to take it, I'll call it go a different direction. Meaning we build it for what we need to build it for now. We max fund this policy now. If at a later date, 6 months down the road, you want to put additional dollar amount in, okay, we put that additional dollar amount up to the TAMRA 7 pay, which I talked about earlier. And then at the start of the second year, we get in that lump sum. But if you can guarantee yourself, because you don't have to guarantee me, if you can guarantee yourself that, yes, this lump sum is going in this year and you want this room, I can absolutely build it for you. And I will do it absolutely what you asked for me.
Okay. And we're going to piggyback off that to throw in Lolo's question, which is,
I love Lolo's questions, by the way.
she's got great questions. In what year of an IUL MPI policy would it make sense to dump my emergency fund into the policy? How quick and easy would it be for me to get a loan from the policy in the event of that an emergency arises? So can you do a lump sum? Can you throw it in later? Yes, you can. You got to build it in there. But if I have my emergency fund that I'm holding on to, but I want it to be working for me at some point, when should I put that in? And then how can I access it, or when can I access it if I have an emergency?
Yep. So a properly designed secure compound interest account is a savings plan. I don't talk about this a lot because we talk about 401ks, which are investments. So it's a savings plan, meaning when you put money in it, absolutely. The whole thought process is if I put my emergency fund into a vehicle like this, it should be accessible to you to be able to use. But the key question that you asked was how much, how quickly. Here's what I know. I know what I know. And with a secure compound interest account, one of the, I'll call it the drawbacks compared to a secure compound interest account like MPI compared to, let's say, a policy, a whole life policy designed for infinite banking. One of the drawbacks is if I put in, using that example that I showed on the board, $110,000 lump sum, $10,000 a year. When $100,000 lump sum, $10,000 a year, $110,000 total. When you put in that $100,000 plus your $10,000 premium, how much, let's say that $100,000 was your emergency fund. How much of that $100,000 is available and how quickly is that $100,000 available? Well, when you put that $110,000 into your policy, if you remember what that visual said, what it said was there was $50,000 of liquidity available to you. So you've put in 110. but you have access to be able to use, if there was an emergency, you can leverage and take how much? $50,000, less than 50%. And this is a properly designed product. So how much of your emergency fund is available at year one? About 50%. How much of your emergency fund that you had put in, remember, it was $100,000. How much of that emergency fund is available at year two? Probably closer to 65%. But how much of that emergency fund is available at year three? All of it, plus some. So a secure compound interest account like this grows slowly. It's slow, steady, secure. You didn't lose your emergency fund when you put it in year one. It's just that all of it is not available to you to use. So you didn't lose it, but all is not available. At year two, you have more of it, but all is not available. But by year three, you have access to everything. And everything is relative. But you have access to all of the money that you've put in to be able to use for whatever you want by year three. Why is that? Because once the relock feature kicks in, this thing takes off and it does some amazing things. So hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah. My question about this is where is your emergency fund currently at, and how is it helping you? So if your emergency fund is living on a debt tool and it's helping you reduce debt, then cool. But if it's not, then it should be at least working for you. And that's where I feel like even though it seems, and what is that emergency fund, by the way? Because I think that's relative or subjective to who's using that phrase. For some people, emergency fund could be $10,000. For other people, it could be $1,000, right? Whatever that size is for you, I think it does matter to really do the math forward and see how is it actually helping you? Where do you have it?
So and to me, that brings up compound cycles.
Yeah, right.
So using that $100,000 example, that $100,000 sitting in savings, let's call it a high yield savings. That $100,000 sitting in savings, how long does it take for that 6% to double for you one time? And I'm being very extreme with that 6% on that $100,000. Well, using the rule of 72, that would be 72 divided by 6, which would be 12 years for that $100,000 to double one time. Inside of a vehicle like this, what do we know? Well, because your money is making more like 7 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3%, that compound cycle is more like 5 to 6 years. So the amount of time it takes for your money to double. So that's very, very important, meaning that money's, yes, and about security. They're both secure. Your savings account is secure. Like, we don't hear too many savings accounts going belly up unless it's a bank that crashes on us. But the bottom line is your money is fairly secure in both, but one of them is growing faster than the other. So I think you bring up a great point.
And I think some of the next questions are kind of in line with that same thing, like where my money is currently sitting. Is it actually doing me good? And how can I, if I wanted to make a change, could I move it from this vehicle to another vehicle? So that's that's the basis for these questions coming up. Okay, Andre, I hope you're still with us because he asked us about a little while ago.
Another dig, man. Y'all be killing me, man.
That Noah,
It's your own little way of going, hey, you talk too much. Hey, you're talking too long. Hey, hopefully you guys didn't fall asleep on us. I know I said I was going to get to your question 10 minutes ago and it's an hour now. My apologies.
Well, it's just because only on the lives is he talking and on the calls is he talking. The rest of the time, it's me who is just rattling on all the time. Yes. I just go on and on. So, Andre, Donnell, can you make a payroll direct deposit onto a 10 to 20K limit or more credit card for a revolving open line of credit tool to help pay down the debt? Is this a part of Velocity Banking?
So, can you make a payroll direct deposit? I think what you're asking is, can you link your debt tool to your payroll?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say the short answer to that question is no. I believe what you can do is link your checking account to your payroll as you do. And when that money comes in, then you move that to the debt tool. So there is an extra step. And if you are using a debt tool that is designed by some pretty talented people out there, you might get a sweep account.
Yeah.
And what that means is you might have a debt tool that is linked to your checking account, and you don't have to move anything. Every night at midnight, when your direct deposit from your check comes in Thursday at midnight, it automatically moves. It automatically transfers on its own into your debt tool. I think that's the most efficient way. They call it a sweep account.
Yeah.
So having a properly designed velocity banking tool that has its own sweep account, I think would be a better way. But can you link your payroll to that HELOC? Probably not.
Yep. Okay. Now, I'm going to skip around here just a little bit to just stay on velocity banking for just a moment.
And tell me to move faster.
Yep. Well, I think I've already answered. We've already answered Jeff's question. Is there hope that velocity banking works when there is a negative cash flow? I think we
Is there hope?
answered that.
But I mean, the short of it is, yes, you can do this. To me, though, it starts with something's got to stop. So if you have negative cash flow, what can you stop doing? I had a client a few days ago. He had negative cash flow, but he was putting like $2,000 a month into his 401k. How about we pause the 401k, get into a positive cash flow position? Now, I didn't say stop your 401k. I said pause. Pause the 401k, get into a positive cash flow position, build up cash flow, and then turn your 401k back on if that's what you want to do. But some things have to stop. How about we've got negative cash flow, but my wife and I have a entertainment budget that we spend $600 a week on going out to eat, and our gym membership is $400 a month. How about we pause going to the gym for the month, and maybe, because we still have a grocery bill, maybe we pause the entertainment $600 a week or whatever it was. I can't remember what that client was. And we take that additional cash flow to put us in a positive cash flow position.
Okay, I got some thoughts, but I'm going to bring Harry in here. Okay. If you take your income and put it on a credit card, wouldn't that create cash flow? It doesn't really create the cash flow part. And I think that's the part where
This stuff is confusing.
Yeah, and I think there's just a little tweaking in getting some of the concepts, because we see a lot of there was a particular post where somebody had negative cash flow and they were told that they could do velocity banking with negative cash flow. She was just moving her money around. So even though she was putting her income onto her debt tool, she had negative cash flow, so it wasn't creating any cash flow, right? Because there's no cash. What is cash flow? Let's just first establish that.
Well, a couple things. And I'm going to go back to that $10,000 example because I think that made sense. I've got a $10,000 balance on my credit card. I put $5,000 on it. If I have negative $1,000 in cash flow, so meaning I make $5,000, but my bills are $6,000. I make $5,000, my bills are $6,000. I have a $10,000 credit card that I'm using for velocity banking, and the limit on that credit card is $12,000. I've got a $10,000 balance, limit is $12,000. I make $5,000, and my bills are $6,000. When that $5,000 goes on to the $10,000 credit card, what just happened? The balance came down to $5,000. But then I got to pay bills. As I pay bills, the balance goes back up on that credit card to what? $11,000.
Right.
I paid all my bills, but the amount of room I had on that debt tool went from $2,000 of room to $1,000 of room. And then next month I do it again. I put my paycheck on the tool. It went from $11,000 down to $6,000, but then I paid $6,000 worth of bills. So at the end of the month, I now have a maxed out credit card. That is inefficient.
Right.
You're not doing anything but hurting yourself. So velocity banking is about the cash flow. So what is cash flow? Cash flow is, and again, I tend to oversimplify things. My wife tells me this all the time. So to oversimplify what cash flow is, it looks like this. You have a certain dollar amount coming in, and throughout the month, you pay a certain amount of bills. There's debts, there's assets. You're paying monthly payments on those debts. You're paying whatever the normal payment is on those normal expenses, the gas, electric, cell phone, whatever those are, because they vary from month to month. But once you pay all of those bills, you put in your income, you paid all of those bills, what's left over? That is your cash flow. And whether it's positive, negative, whatever it is, that is the amount that's left over at the end of the month. And that dollar amount is what you can use or what you're using to then pay down debt. So if your income goes on to a credit card and the bills that you pay from that credit card are less than the income that you've put on that credit card, that what's left over lives on that credit card. So you have created room. So you didn't create cash flow, you created room on that debt tool. The specific cash flow is what lives or what created that room. So you didn't create cash flow, what you created was room. The cash
Right.
flow itself is what was left over. It used to live in your checking account, but now it happens to live on this debt tool. Does that help?
Yeah. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because we are heading into the holidays. And with so many people jumping into, okay, now I see it. Now I feel like there's hope, right? Because Jeff's question was around hope. Like, is there hope? There's really only hope if you change your lifestyle habits too, if you change the decisions that we make. And so, as we're going into the holidays, I think it's even more important to kind of reassess how we're approaching what the holidays mean. Is it really about stuff and things? Is it really about we got to go to Home Depot and ball out on all these decorations and make sure that our front yard looks the best? If your front yard looks the best, but it's costing you your future, if it's costing you financial security, does it matter who sees it? Because at some point, someone's going to see the lack of financial security, right? You can't hide it for forever. This isn't judgment. This is saying that we have to start normalizing these types of decisions and moving in this direction. We have normalized the stuff and things for far too long. We have normalized the performative gestures, the performative traditions that we have at least 2 or 3 times a year where we spend a stupid amount of money for really no reason at all. Really no reason at all. Those kids do not need all those toys. Those people in your life who you wanted to have a nice gesture for them. You know what the best gesture is? To get your stuff together. The best gesture is to make sure that the kids that you're buying gifts for, hey, you're not going to have to live with them later on. Hey, Merry Christmas. There you go. You won't have to take care of me. There's honestly, there's honestly just so many decisions that we need to start changing, and we need to start changing them as a community because it's difficult when you are the only ones. We went through this last year. We were the only ones in our family that opted out of Christmas. We just decided, like, even our kids were like, we're not, you know what? It feels performative. Like, as we've gone through our personal growth journey, we started, it started with the last year where we had to restart Christmas and open presents after dinner because I was just, I'm going to tell them. I'm telling them. I'm going to tell them the story. Okay. Christmas before last, we have all older kids. And I was like, okay, you guys, I wrapped all these gifts up. Like, it was a big deal for me. When are we getting up? When are we opening presents? They were like, maybe 9:30, 10:30. You know, like they like to sleep in. Like that they're working now and they want to sleep in. Well, they didn't get up till like 12:30 or 1. Well, I got to start making dinner then. And I was just feeling like, why aren't you excited to get up and get to these presents? Why aren't you excited about that? I'm excited for you to open them. I need you to open them so that I know you liked what I got you, right? Took all this time, thoughtfulness, whatever. And the reason why they didn't want to get up, they didn't want to say it because they knew that it would sound ungrateful. Ungrateful. We had family meeting, right? And I was just like, okay, you guys, please, can you just act grateful for this? Because I need you to act grateful because this is like part of Christmas for me, right? This is like what's really going to do it for me. I need this deposit is what I was really trying to say. That I do all of these things around the holidays. I do things for other people to feel better about myself. That's really what I was saying. Didn't know it at the time. That's what I was saying. They knew that was kind of what I was saying subconsciously, but they didn't want to disappoint me, right? That's why they didn't want to be ungrateful. Because if they seem ungrateful, then I'm like, Now it didn't work. You didn't receive the gift. I can't give the gift. Now it doesn't work, right? How many people are programmed like this? It's not just me. I know it's not just me, so I have no problem talking about it. This is the problem. The problem is that we we did all these things and we were just subconsciously going along with it because we didn't really understand subconsciously what we were doing. But as our kids started to get older and they started having to come out of their own pocket, right? They felt like, okay, we're old enough now, we should be buying gifts for the family too. And if we're not, then we're just receiving, and that feels weird to us, right?
Comes a withdrawal.
Right, becomes a withdrawal. I'm looking for the deposit into my self-esteem and into like, the happiest time of the year because of all these deposits we're giving unto others. All these things make us feel good. We're doing good things. For them, it was a withdrawal. They couldn't participate in those activities. So they were like, this is a significant withdrawal for us. We actually don't want to do this because we don't want you to not have the deposit, but then we don't want to have the withdrawal so that you can have the deposit. Like, how is that working? Man, that family meeting changed everything. And the next year, I was like, what do you guys want to do? And they were like,
We want to eat,
we want to eat. We want to be with
hang out.
family.
Can we
Yeah.
do Uno? Can we
Yeah.
break out the? We have an
Like,
Uno tomorrow. Can we break out the Uno?
but we just don't want to perform. We don't want to perform the holidays. And I was like, me neither. Me neither. And we have focused this whole year on not having some of those normal things that we do just because society says so. Birthdays or stuff and things, right? And this has totally changed how we're thinking about things because now if we're feeling disconnected from someone, we realize buying them something is not for them, probably 90% of the time. But this is why we have the American debt crisis that we're having. This is why, because part of it, you're paying interest on these deposits that you were actually giving to yourself. We buy all the stuff, we got a good deal, whatever it is, whatever the justification is, we have to stop it. And so as we go into the holiday season, just ask yourself, can you just do that for me? For us, just ask yourself if the reason why you're doing this is really to make yourself feel better. Ask, why are you doing this? Ask, does this make the boat go faster? Ask yourself, is the decisions that I'm making this holiday season, the decisions that I'm making for other people, the things that I am buying for other people, is it helping me reach my goal? What is the goal? Hang that on your tree. Just an idea. Yeah.
Sign in
Just
the yard with a light on it. Positive cash flow.
just an idea. Just say, what are the goals? We're doing goals here for Christmas. That's what we're doing. We are going to sit down. If you have teen children, if you have adult children, sit them down. Do they have a budget? Do they have a goal? Can they see where they're going? Make that a part of your reasons or ways to spend time together. That is an amazing and productive way to spend time together. It's better than talking about politics. Just gonna throw that out there. I don't know if if I'm triggering people. I'll sit here and go through the comments and see if people are like, no, not a vibe. We're gonna be
Right.
spending,
What about my babies?
yeah, we're gonna be going all out. Here's the thing, the babies don't know any different, guys. They don't know. They don't know if it's normal to get 3 gifts or 24. They have no idea. We are we have made it normal to give our kids what we never had. What if we gave them exactly what we had and we invested the rest? Or less. If you had parents that were balling out for the holidays and you saw what happened to them, let's fix it. We have the opportunity to fix it one decision at a time. That's all I'm suggesting is that we just start having different conversations, even with our family, because then instead of it feeling like, "Ah, guys, I'm trying to work on my goals, so this is why Christmas sucks this year," right? It doesn't have to be that way. Frankie says, wrap up a pack of ramen. I don't know. I think if you get your family on board and you have them all moving towards the same goal, and they start to understand what it is that you're doing, it'll be a lot more fun understanding that, hey, do I really want to get that toy, or would my money be working better for me if I had that money in mom and dad's bank?
And you adjust the thought process around service. It's if this is really about service and giving, then is there a better way to serve and give?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And I would love to hear your ideas. Like for those who do more activities or more personal gifts, like thoughtfulness, time together, service. What are your ideas so that maybe people who are watching this right now can see some other ideas and we can share. We can start to form those conversations a little more. Okay, moving on. Our family set an age limit of 18, no presents after 18. Ooh,
See, I think there's layers here. I think it's
yeah,
it's not just we're not performing. It's also then if we're not performing, then what are we doing?
yeah.
Let's peel the layers back a little bit to understand again what does this day mean, what does this season mean, and how do we carry the season into the rest of the year. Like we had sat around, I don't know if it was Thanksgiving or if it was New Year's, but it was, instead of talking about, it was what
It
we
was
were thankful
Thanksgiving.
for.
Yeah.
So it was, instead of identifying what we're thankful for around this year that has happened, meaning what has happened in the past. Yes, I am thankful for everything that happened yesterday. But what about what do we expect this future, this next year to look like? And how about we put more intention and focus on what are the adjustments that we need to make right now today. I am thankful for yesterday, but I'm actually going to be more thankful for the how my boat moved forward in the year to come. So what are my expectations for the future? What are my expectations for me personally, education, monetarily, whatever service, whatever my business, my job, whatever those things might be, and focus more on bringing intention into the new year versus focusing on what we've done. So again, there's layers to it.
Yeah, where is your boat? Who's in your boat? I think the holidays is a great time to assess who's in your boat too. Is somebody in your boat and they're trying to take you guys in a different direction? They might have to get the boot. They can't be in the boat. Sorry. Bye. You can't be in the boat. And I think that if you do have people in your boat, helping them understand that, hey, look, if you're standing up and you're always rocking the boat, this is why it makes it difficult for us to move. This is why it makes it difficult for us to, if it's, whatever your goal is, buy a better house, move to a different district to be a part of better schools, or whatever their goal is too. I mean, I'm sure there's everybody's goals. Everybody who's in the boat together, you are going in a direction. And my point is, it's a great opportunity to do that. It's a great gift to be able to share something that is a mantra or a creed and get everybody on the same page in your household. Like that's a gift in itself. And all I'm saying is, even though people are out here talking about that we're heading into a recession, even though they're comparing how scary where we are right now is very similar to what caused the Great Depression. If you don't have leverage and you do not know where your leverage is and you are not doing everything you can right now to build more of it, then the decisions that you make today because it's Christmas, the decisions that you make today because it's the holidays, or whatever the excuse is, these capitalistic excuses that we are programmed, we're conditioned to
Perform.
use. Yeah, and they're performative. And so we have to start changing this in order to change our leverage, and in order to be in a bit different position when it matters. And that's why the rich get richer and the wealth just continues to populate within wealthy families, because they understand these concepts and they know where their boats are, and they've got multiple boats, right?
Celeste, that's dope.
All right, my
I don't know
Christmas
what else to
present to
say.
my grown daughters is setting up a meeting with Donnell to get them on the right path to financial freedom with the vehicles he talks about. You know how many, you know how many people have called with their kids or gotten their parents on the phone too. And whichever the direction is, I could, I am so honored, and I really mean it. I am so honored to know that we are impacting families on generational levels. That's the dopest thing I've ever heard. Well,
I
almost.
can't help but think of, and she may be watching now, but I've got this client and her mom. Usually, I've met with her several times, but she's been wanting to get her mom on with her, and we're not talking about, 20 and 40, 20-year-old child and 40-year-old. No, we're talking like 60 and 80 or 50 and 70 or something like that. And watching them go back and forth, I had the most fun just really talking through, because the mom, who's 70 plus, she's got experience. She's been doing this a long time. Before we even thought about what velocity banking was, she's been handling her finances. So she's got education. And the truth is, what she's been doing is velocity banking, is just not called that. And
Yeah.
and so it was just cool to kind of watch their dynamic and listen to their dynamic, and watch them both grow together around tools and opportunities like this. So I couldn't help but think about that when you said that, Celeste. So I am honored. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah. And thank you so much. And again, having these conversations, this is that if we're going to pass the time, let's make use of the time, because time is money. Time is the most valuable thing, the most valuable asset that we have. And so we need to make sure we're utilizing it, leveraging it. On that note, let's move on to these questions because we got a lot of them. Okay. Fletcher says, what would you do? Goal is to build a duplex for both kids, build a forever house, build a family bank. Was awarded $85,000 voucher to buy a new mobile home due to the hurricane. How would you, and could you leverage the 85,000 line of credit?
So I think there are layers here, because if the government gave you a dollar amount, my first question would be, should that dollar amount be used for what the government said you could use that dollar amount for?
Yeah.
So can you use that $85,000 elsewhere? I cannot say. I think there is some other boxes that may need to be checked, or some investigation needs to be done, because the last thing you want to do is mishandle money that was provided to you from the government, because if they come knocking on their door looking for how that money was spent and it wasn't spent in the fashion that they said, my
You said
concern
Donnell
is,
said,
you know what I'm saying? So well, yeah. So my point is, I don't honestly know how you can or can't use it, but let me step back and go, you've got this $85,000 line of credit, regardless of where it came from. You got this $85,000 line of credit free and clear. What can you use that $85,000 for? It's unlimited. And it goes back to, what is the goal? So if you're telling me that the goal is a duplex for the kids, and you're wanting to be able to use that $85,000 for that, you can. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. But if you would ask me how I would leverage that $85,000, maybe you build these duplexes for these kids, and those kids get old enough to only realize they never wanted that duplex. You got that duplex for them. That's not their objective. They don't like tenants, toilets, and trash. You bought them tenants, toilets, and trash. And then they end up liquidating that duplex and not allowing it to really be or have the expectation that you wanted. What if that same $85,000 was put in a vehicle and building passively? So now it's less about, hey, I've got these tenants, toilets, and trash that I have to take care of. I've got this vehicle, this machine that's producing income for me holistically. And we roll that $85,000 growth over that 10, 15, 20-year period into a trust. And then we establish how income is distributed, and you and your wife get to determine how that income is distributed for over the next 500 years. So it's really less about a vehicle specifically for the kids. This is a machine that actually is going to produce income forever. And that's beyond you, beyond your kids, beyond your grandkids. Matter of fact, there's generations that will never understand how this even came about. All they know is when they wake up in the morning, they've got this machine that produces income for them. So to me, I would much rather put that money in a vehicle that could do that. And I'm not saying that duplex for the kids can't. I'm just saying maybe there is a better way. And don't limit your options. Look at both. You know, which one, maybe do both. And maybe you might learn that if you do the duplex right, that duplex can maybe even feed that machine. And so it's less about you got a duplex for the kids. What you did was you created a machine that feeds a machine that produces income for generations, many different ways.
All right. Michael Lewis says, so when the ski is established, how often does the customer usually reach out to the agent? How good is the customer service? How good is your customer
Man,
service? I don't know.
golly.
Let's rate it.
There's
Yeah,
so
let's
many
rate it.
layers here. Okay. So let me just talk about me. I think I do a really good job of leading the client to the skier, getting the skier done. I think one of the holes in my process, my personal process, is once the skier is in place, what happens? And I think what we're in the midst of doing, because we are trying to build this system, this business, and where like having my wife here and having Frankie in the background, the objective is to make this a holistic, closed loop system. So yeah, I did a good job of getting you to the skier. You've got the machine. You've been funding it over the next few months, and everything is working just fine. But when was the last time you heard of, or when was the last time you touched base, or when was the last time you got any update as to what's going on? I think we're in the process of kind of putting those pieces in place so that there are more touch points, so that maybe monthly, maybe quarterly, there's little tidbits, little facts being thrown at you. So at least you understand if you need anything, I am a text message away, literally. But I think without those different touch points, we forget about each other. And so I think we're in the process of kind of building out what that looks like. So as of today, like if you were to talk to my clients from 2, maybe 3 years ago, going through their jump, how often do they hear from me? They hear from me around their anniversary date. And usually that's more of like a text. Hey, you've just completed year 1. Are there any adjustments that you'd like to make? No? Okay, we move on and we go to year 2. It's a set it and forget it. You've been putting in your monthly contributions over this period of time, and it's almost on automatic. You don't even realize what's happening in your account until I do reach out to you and say, hey, it's year 3. It's time for the relock feature to kick in. And here's the position your account is in. Here's what's available to you from a relock perspective. Do you want to put all of that into this vehicle or not? Are there some other actions you would like to take? Hey, let's sit down and talk about it. But I think there's absolutely a much better job that could be done on my end personally. And I think that's where my wife and Frankie on the back end comes into play. In identifying or detailing what that process needs to look like in order to make sure that you realize you are not by yourself in this process. There is a whole community of people like you that are going through the exact same thing. So us doing a better job of making sure you have the confidence that everything is working the way it's supposed to be working, as opposed to just at one point throughout the year. So a lot of words. I'm sorry.
No, they're good words. Okay, I want to put this up. Crafts by You says, getting in a call with y'all is what my hubby and I decided on for our wedding anniversary. The gift of a new way of thinking and living.
That is what's up.
How dope is that? I gotta find sound for that. Matter of fact, I don't know if you guys saw the episode where we were talking about the couple about to get married. Can you see? Can you hear?
No, mute it. Get close to the mic. How do you?
Okay. I don't know if you saw that episode where we were talking about the couple that were about to get married, or even like our journey, but it was super impactful to have that conversation then versus later on down the road. We have seen many couples, well, they're just statistics about it, right? Of couples and why they don't end up with a healthy relationship because they don't have these conversations. And by the time they're too far into debt, by the time they have not gotten close to their goals or where they thought they would be in life, then it's easy to point the finger when you guys could have been in the boat at the same time, headed the same direction. So I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's sweet, huh?
That's pretty dope. I appreciate it.
Okay, let's see. Alandio. Hey, Alandio says, can you move money from a Robinhood or Acorn account into a Skia?
So I know you can fund a Robinhood account. I don't know about Acorn, but I know you can fund a Robinhood account with qualified money. So it depends on the type of dollars in it. If this is after-tax money that you've used from your savings, checking, or liquidated asset to fund that Acorn, you absolutely can use that after-tax dollars to be able to fund your skill, whether it's coming from a Robinhood account, Acorn, savings, checking, again, liquidated asset, you name it, you absolutely. Any after-tax dollars can be used to fund a secure compound interest account, and the money growing inside of it is growing tax-free.
Okay. Think Thrival. Hey, Think Thrival.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Where do we find more information about the 8% guaranteed growth crowdfunding real estate investment group?
So yeah, I don't think it's on our site. So what I would say is text me and I can send that information to you. I know it's located on the compound.interest site, but you may have to search for that too. So I think the easiest thing to do may be to reach out to me personally. Sweetheart, if you throw my phone number up, reach out to me personally, and I think Rival already has it.
Yeah, I get the digits.
If you text me and just mention the 8% fund, I can send you some information around that. It's not a problem.
Yeah, here's the digits. There they are. Okay.
Just so we're clear, it is not, the 8% fund has nothing to do with me. All I'm doing is sending people there because there's an opportunity to beat the 4% rule. So there's no role that I play in that process. So I can absolutely send you some information on that.
Okay, Garrett Graham says, can I get a collateral cash value loan against the MPI? Have you seen this done before? Can you get a loan? Show 'em the money.
So this is important because if you run across anyone who provides life insurance, cash value life insurance, and they say that you can get money out of that policy through any fashion other than a loan, you need to leave them quickly, because what they're saying is you're losing all of your tax benefits by withdrawing money out of your policy. The only way you get cash out of a properly designed, or any, not even properly designed, the only way you get cash out of a cash value life insurance policy, I didn't name a type. The only way you get cash out of a cash value life insurance policy is you leverage the cash value that's in it. What that means is it's you're taking advantage of the participating loan. So you are borrowing against the cash value. If you have a surrender value or a cash value of $100,000 and you need $50,000 to go buy a vehicle, you are not withdrawing $50,000 out of that $100,000. You are leveraging. You are borrowing against that $100,000. So you're borrowing $50,000. The life insurance company is writing you a check for $50,000. The original $100,000 of cash value is still there, still working for you. If it's properly designed, you're making more money than it costs you to borrow. If it's a poorly designed, you're probably losing money every time you leverage against it. Quick example. I have a whole life policy. I had to call them today because there was some issues going on with my account. And I just asked a simple question because I don't know the answer to this question. I just simply asked, what is the dividend performance of my whole life policy? And this year it was 3.25%. So I made 3.25% on the money that on the growth inside my policy, 3.25%. And I have an outstanding loan. So I asked, and what is the loan rate? Because I don't even know. What is the loan rate? Loan rate is 5.75. So I borrowed the money at 5.75. I'm paying for 5.75 in interest, but my account is making 3.25 or whatever that dollar amount is, versus my secure compound interest account, my premium finance strategy. How much does it cost for me to leverage or borrow money against my policy? It costs 4%. But what am I making on my money? I'm making 7 plus 3. And in a year, I'll be making 7 plus 3 plus 3. And then 2 years after that, I'll be making 7 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. And so, and ultimately what that means is every time I leverage money from my account, I'm actually making more than what it costs for me to borrow. So not only will I take this 4% dollar amount and go do infinite banking, pay a bill, buy a car, make an investment, whatever that case may be, but I have money working for me in 3 places versus 2 inside of a poorly designed policy.
Yeah, that's powerful. So his next question is, what's the max age to get MPI policy?
Max age to get a policy. You can do a policy on a 14-day-old. So as long as you're
max age, that would be min age.
Oh, the latest. I'm sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
How early can you get? So I had a different question in my head, so I'm answering both. What is the earliest you can get a secure compound interest account or MPI policy? The earliest is 14 days old. Just have to have a social. What's the oldest? The oldest that I have done a policy on is 67. And I have 2 stories around the 67. I have 2 different clients at age 67 that I've done policies on. One 67-year-old was approved, but because of the amount they were approved for and the amount of growth inside the policy, even though they were putting in a decent dollar amount, I did not agree with the way the account was growing. And so I did not allow this 67-year-old to accept this policy. I still have it sitting in my inbox because I didn't think it was growing efficiently. But I've also had a 67-year-old who was putting such a large dollar amount in. It was the cost of insurance was almost negated because of the amount of growth that was being placed inside this policy. So it's actually growing pretty good over time. So the max age, I don't know that there is a max age, but I'm going to tell you it's somewhere between, I'll call it 63 up, and it's because the cost of insurance inside of a product like this is very impactful. So unless you're not talking about putting in some super large dollar amount to make this make sense, the math may not, the cost of insurance may cause the math inside of this product to not make sense for you to do. So I'm going to say somewhere 63 plus is what I would say.
Okay. Okay, cool. Donnell, give us an overview of proper structuring. What should we look for? Is a stripped down policy with no frills the best structure? I don't know what she means though.
I think I do.
Okay.
So give us, you mind leaving it up because I want to make sure I don't forget because I'm going to go off tangent. Give us an overview of proper structuring. What should we look for? I think it starts with when you're trying to identify. Well, first it starts with the goal. If you're buying life insurance, meaning, hey, I'm of this age and I just want to make sure if something happens to me, my family's taken care of. So if you're just buying life insurance, that structure, I'll call it, it's less impactful to make sure that structure looks a certain way compared to I am buying this cash value life insurance product because I want it to produce income. I am less concerned about the life insurance. I am
Can everybody else hear that? I don't know. Hold on. Unmute yourself now. And let's try again. No, on the, no. It's a terrible static. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to mute you again. Can you try to unplug your mic and plug it back in and let's see if that works? Yeah, just maybe something got loose, maybe. Okay. All right, you do that. We're going to, you know what we're going to do? Oh, y'all know what we're going to do. No, we're going to spin the wheel. Let me just see if I need to. Yeah. We're going to share this tab instead. Okay, let's see if he's in there. You have to unmute yourself. Remember that on just in the studio. Babe, unmute yourself. And down there in the studio at the bottom. Okay, try now. You have to say some words. Oh, now you're muted. We can't hear you at all, though. You can hear us, though? Oh, he's going out and coming back in. All right, good for us. We're gonna pull the wheel up because it had to reload too for some reason. But that's okay. We got this. We can. It's just us, guys. We got this. We can do this. Heck yes. Wait, no, I wanted this one. I like it. I like this better. Mine is? No, it's not that. Because my camera's plugged in. Okay, let's see. All right. Well, let's just switch this. Okay, sorry. Here we are. Let's do it. Okay, You guys ready? Ready in the chat? Let's see who's gonna win. Nathan already got a boat. We gotta do it again. I mean, we can send him another boat though. We could do that. Zaid. Zaid's not won a boat, right? Okay, putting down Zaid. I gotta take track. I gotta keep track because the other thing is, guys, just real quick, some of y'all don't send in your address, so we can't send in your boat. That's not a vibe. Okay. Oh, I can see what you can see now, Frankie. I don't know why that's in my. I have a constant power source. That's weird. Maybe the tech issues are trying to hack the stream. Hold on. Okay, let's fix this. All right. Come on. Oh, he won last time. Come on, we gotta get some new people in the chat. Okay. April! Woo! April! We know you haven't won yet. That's even better. Okay, April, send us your address. Text it to us. Tech gremlins for sure. Okay, well, we're gonna give away one more. So let's find somebody who hasn't had one yet. We got Zaid in April. And who else? Who else? This is your lucky day. Nate, you better go play the lottery or something tonight. Golly. All right, one more. If Nate comes up again, Nate, we're just gonna have to send you another boat anyway. Hey, Harry. You know, Harry, you won last time, but we did not get your address. So let's leave it there. We got to get Harry his boat before we can move forward. Oh, hey, Donnell. There he is. Hi. Okay. All right. Well, we've got tech issues, hacking the stream. We got see this battery I got here. Did you switch me again?
I have done nothing.
Anyway, I got a battery thing, and that happened. And then Nate won 4 boats when we tried to spin. Golly. Yeah. So, okay. On that note, we're almost done with questions here. So let's just move forward. Oh, we are. Yeah. Okay. So she got a boat and an answer.
Okay. All right. So give us an overview of the proper structuring. So again, it depends on what it is you're looking for. It depends on your goal. And the structure matters. I think we build, if you're dealing with the right individual, dealing with the right company, dealing with the right person, they will structure your policy to fit what it is your goal is. So if it's focused on income, so I think that's what we're talking about. Hey, how do I design a properly structured, secure compound interest account that is focused on income? Well, it first starts with, is it max funded? Are we purchasing the least amount of life insurance? Why does that matter? The less life insurance you buy, the less expense to you. The less expense to you, the more money you now have available to be able to produce income. Max funded matters. And it's just a simple term. Hey, I'm looking for a max funded cash value life insurance policy. Max funded. Purchasing the least amount of life insurance legally possible. Is it option B? Why does that matter? And what does option B mean? There's an option. If there's an option B, there must be an option A. And this is a life insurance term. And without digging into a whole lot of detail, we can get into this later. But option B is just basically saying, as I'm contributing to my policy, $500 a month, $6,000 a year. There's a certain amount of life insurance that's being purchased. And at $500 a month, that $6,000 a year is it's building a certain amount of cash value. As it continues to build that cash value, then I am able to use that cash value to go do infinite banking and build income and all of those things. So option B says, as that cash value continues to increase, the death benefit, and this is confusing to a lot of people. When you buy a life insurance policy, you're buying a death benefit. In some cases, that death benefit is 2 numbers. And in some cases, that death benefit is still 2 numbers. You just don't receive one of them. And that death benefit means the life insurance you bought, so $500 a month, $6,000 a year, may be buying $200,000 in life insurance, plus the cash value you're accumulating. And if you were to pass, your beneficiaries receive 2 numbers, not 1. Your beneficiaries receive the life insurance you purchased plus all of the cash value you didn't use, and the death benefit becomes 2. Again, it's mathematically 2 numbers. So max funded, option B. And then the structure of that policy, one of the things that you want to ask yourself is, when I'm contributing to this policy, when do I break even? What is that break even point within my policy? What does that mean? Well, if I'm putting in $500 a month, $6,000 a year, when do I have $6,000 working for me? And in most policies, well, I've never seen a policy that breaks even at year 1. I haven't. So if you put in $6,000 at year 1, you're going to have something less than $6,000 working for you. Let's call it $5,000 working for you. The difference between the 6 you put in and the 5 that's working for you, that $1,000, those are the fees. There are fees associated with every cash value life insurance product you buy. So in year 2, you've put in $12,000. Do you have $12,000 working for you? Maybe it's 11,500. Maybe you're close, but you're not there yet. At year 3, year 4, year 5, I'm going to say a good policy, not a great policy, but a good policy breaks even somewhere around year 4 and 5. That's good. I'll call it poor policy breaks even somewhere around 6, 7, 8. An extremely bad policy
Hot
breaks
trash.
even 10 years or later. And there's a lot of policies that when you look at, again, using the scenario, $500 a month, $6,000 a year, $6,000 over 10 years is $60,000. It took you putting in $60,000 before you had $60,000 working for you.
Bruh.
Why does that matter? And
not a vibe.
I don't know that I've ever shared this doing a live. Why does that matter? Why? Because I talk a lot about when do you break even. I talk a lot about that break even point, but why does that even matter? If we're focused on income, if we're focused on generating income, the reason this break even point matters is because let's do some math. Let me share with you how you break even inside of a properly designed product. That break even point is somewhere around year 3. So I'm putting in $6,000 a year. I break even, meaning I have full access. I have full $18,000 working for me at year 3 versus a poorly designed policy or a horrible design policy breaking even at year 10. It took 10 years for me to just get to what I've put in versus at year 3 in a secure compound interest account, I hit that break even point. The reason that matters is because of compound cycles, meaning how long does it take for your money to double just one time? Well, if I don't even break even, if I don't even have the money that I've put in available to me for 10 years, that means it's going to take another 10 years for me to just double my money one time. Versus if my break even point is year 3, then the odds of me doubling my money becomes earlier. And inside of a secure compound interest account, that break even point is somewhere around years 5 or 6. So because the compound cycle is shorter inside of a properly designed product, that means the likelihood or the ability for me to build income is greater. Meaning the earlier I break even, the more money I make. So if I design this policy for income, I make more income if I can break even faster. No one talks about that because it's been hidden from you. The thought process is if you're doing infinite banking and your break-even point is year 10, it's less about where your break-even point is. It's how you're leveraging. It's how you're using your cash value. That's BS. Because if your break-even point is earlier, the likelihood of you being able to retire using that money, the likelihood of you being able to build cash value is higher. It's math. It's just simply math. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think that was good, and it's a point that when you and I are talking just throughout the day that you do bring up, we talk about, especially it's like a note for us, like, oh, that's because compound cycles, or imagine the compound cycles, or somebody says, like, there was a question around there was a conversation, we were having with our neighbors who was saying, I went debt free first, and now I want to know what to do next. And the first thing that comes up to us is like the first thing we see are the compound cycles that are lost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get
You'll never
free.
get them
It took
back.
you 10 years to get debt free. That's 10 years of your money not making money for you. Scary.
Yeah. And you can't catch up because of compounding
Math.
math. Yeah.
We need a button for that.
Yeah, Fletcher, I don't know if he's still on, but when he had his question about the voucher, he was saying, okay, so I purchased another property, the duplex, whatever it was that he was doing with the voucher, then what could I do after I
Right.
own it?
Own leverage. Once you own it and that equity is yours, you can do whatever you want. You can leverage that equity however you would like. You can get a first position HELOC on that property. But again, it's kind of sometimes harder to get a first position HELOC on a rental or on a investment property than on your own, but you can. It is possible. But the moral of the story is that most of the time, our largest asset is the home that we live in. And that largest asset is usually leveraged the least. We will empty our 401k to buy a house. We will
Right.
go into credit card debt to uh, rehab our home, but very rarely will we leverage our home to build wealth for ourselves. And I think
Well,
this is just a paradigm shift.
some people will stay in credit card debt thinking that putting extra payments on the home versus paying off that credit card debt somehow makes it better.
I will double the amount that I'm putting into my mortgage,
Right.
putting my money in a place that I can't access it,
Right.
versus getting myself out of debt or putting that money in a vehicle that can make its own money for me.
Yeah, and it's not this, then that, this or that. It's this and that. You have to be you have to be doing both things at the same time, especially unless you're 16, then maybe you've got a few years, but why would you waste them, right? Knowing that it could be compounding. That this is the new holiday conversation. I would love to hear it. I love to see it. We
Can you
should do a
imagine Thanksgiving
campaign.
in some of these households?
Yeah, I would love it. I would love it because that 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 conversation at Thanksgiving was super impactful for everybody at our table because we usually have people that aren't in our family who come over for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Everybody who was sitting at that table last year he's laughing because of what Frankie's saying in the background. And the new game is just to pretend like you can't hear her because otherwise you're laughing inappropriately at the wrong time, Frankie. Okay. And it's yes, you're invited to
That's all she
Thanksgiving.
wanted to know. Does that mean I'm invited? Yes, you are invited, Frankie. Yes, yes.
God, I love you. Okay. It's it was writing down your goals on that piece of paper. It was like a declaration. You had to say it out loud in front of everybody. This is where when we get around this table in a year from now, this is what I said. And we put them in the jar, right? And that was where we are. So now this year we get to take those out. And it's not a judgment like, oh, we get to measure where you are. This is an exercise. If we had been doing this their whole lives, by now they would be like, nope, I already remembered mine, right? I remembered it. I didn't forget it, matter of fact. When I sit down this year, wait till you hear my new goal. Wait till you hear where I actually achieved, where I set the bar, what I hit, and now where I'm going for next year. So it'd be totally different. Bring that home to your family for the holidays. That's not the one I wanted. It was this one. Something that's like retro about that. I don't know. I feel like we need our own show. Okay, Darian says, how long does it generally take to implement an MPI policy, IUL policy, starting from the application submission to initial funding of the policy, assuming good health rating? Thank you for that last part, Darian.
I think I hold the record here. I think I do. Don't quote me, but I think I do. I believe the shortest time from submission to approval was 3 days.
Yeah.
And that submission
Wasn't it a
to
record?
approval.
Yeah,
Just
Frankie
said.
said it's a record. You just said that? Oh, okay. I was reading comments.
So submission to approval 3 days, but that's not funding it. So submission to approval 3 days, then you got to get your final documents, and that can take anywhere from 72 hours to maybe a week. But once that's done, then you fund your policy. And how do you fund it? Well, you have to either submit, wire, or check the lump sum, and then the first month's premium is pulled 24 to maybe 72 hours after you have signed your final docs. So all in all, maybe 2 weeks total. I think from the time you got approved to the time you were able to fund your policy, about 2 weeks. Now, I've got clients, I've got one right now, and he's probably on here today. I've got clients who have been sitting in underwriting for more than 90 days, which is, there's no excuse for it.
No.
But there are reasons why. There are things that we can control and things that we can't. So it really just depends on health, what it is, how you're funding your policy. There's many different factors that goes into underwriting, and I am not an underwriter, but there are times where there's information required that you can't provide that I can provide. This information has to come from a third party who may not be as engaged as you are in making sure your policy gets approved. And so sometimes when we're waiting on information from your doctor, when waiting on information from another place that needs to come to these underwriters so they can assess whether or not your health, your age, your financial standing is in a good enough space for you to be able to be approved to be an asset so that we can offer you this life insurance policy so that you can start building wealth. Why would your doctor care whether or not you did or didn't get approved? And your doctor's not doing nothing. He may be busy too. My point is there may be some factors here that we just cannot control that will cause this process to take longer than it should. So hopefully that helps.
I forgot that Frankie says, don't lie about your height, guys. Happens all the time, and that holds things up. She's back here going, if you ain't 6 feet, just don't even say it, man. Just don't. Because if your doctor's records say 5'11", don't tell us you're 6 foot. It holds things up. They start acting, they're like, the math ain't mathin'. This is looking sus.
They send someone to your house and they measure you.
Can you imagine on your dating app, they're like 6 foot, and she's like, I'm coming up. Like somebody from the dating app is like, I'm coming over there with a measuring tape. We're checking it out. But in this particular case, those types of things can impact. Oh, also,
Can impact your ability to be approved. Yes.
also for the husbands who don't pay attention to their baby's height and weight.
That's a big one. That's a big one. If you have an infant
Or a kid.
but I've seen this all the time with infants. I'm talking couple months old, and you don't know how long how many inches of length your child is. Don't make up a number. Do not guess.
Because either it makes it seem like you could be putting numbers together that make it seem like your child has a health condition,
They're obese.
or they're obese, or they are a giant baby, like record breaking. How did it come out of your wife, sir? How did this happen?
And
they have to
usually
get a
it's
crane?
dad that causes this problem.
That's why I said the
Usually
dads.
it
Yeah.
is dad that causes
Yeah.
this
Usually
problem.
dads, it's like, I don't know. They're like 50 pounds by now. They're
And that's
heavy.
usually the exact statement. Hey, how much does your son weigh? I don't know. I mean, she takes him to the doctor. I think he's somewhere around 50 pounds. Do
Yeah,
you want me to put 50 pounds?
I held him while she made dinner. Got heavy fast. So put down that. It's pretty much how much they weigh at this point. But that is how it is, and they don't understand the importance of it. But by the time you've already put it in there and you feel confident, you're like, oh no, for sure it was 10 pounds. For sure it was 20 pounds. Then now comes here comes the team, the Inspector Gadget team. They got to get in there with the tools and double check things. Holds the process up. A new niche for Frankie, date worthiness verification. You know what, Frankie? You could do that. Yeah, I love that for her. That is a great suggestion. Yeah. Well, anyhow,
Let's get
we
outta
have
here.
been on here for almost. Thank you guys so much for hanging in with. What we hope is that you did appreciate just having the ability to ask as many questions and not have this be a particular topic. You guys can jump in. We can do more of these if you want.
And you know what I like about it? How many times did I go to the calculator?
No. Yeah.
None. But how many questions did I answer related to a secure compound interest account?
Yeah.
A lot. And I think what that says is this is an educated group here. And it's really less about, I understand that the maths, but I want to understand how the maths.
Yeah.
And so I want to know less about, if I put in $500 a month, what that number looks like. I want to know how you got to that number. I want to peel back the layers and understand what's at the root behind and what are the fees and how can I dig into those. So I think what I appreciate about that is it says this audience is pretty dang educated. So let's get out of here.
Yeah. So we like to end with, if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
you can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
So stay focused.
Stay protected.
Stay tuned.
Stay connected.
I'm Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
And our goal is to help you. And Frankie, gosh, we should put you in there. She said, not Frankie.
You guys have a great evening.
Yes. Hold on one second. And if you haven't gotten the free resources, please, even if you lost them somewhere in your email, jump back in, get them again. Free book. You got to get the book. You got to at least read Everyone Ends Up Poor. Yeah. All right. So do that. And here's how you can do that. And we'll see you Sunday. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get self-directed.